Our world is filled with complex human behaviors, many of which we rarely question. Every day we witness decisions and actions that seem rational on the surface, but underneath they are driven by unseen forces. We assume we understand ourselves and those around us, that we're in control, but the truth is, much of what drives us lies hidden deep within our minds. What if these truths were more unsettling than we could ever realize? The mind is a battlefield, constantly under attack from emotions, biases, and external pressures. We walk through life believing we are the masters of our actions, but the harsh reality is that we are often pulled by strings we can't even see. Some of the most disturbing facts about human behavior are the very things that manipulate and control our actions. These forces work in the background, leaving us vulnerable to manipulation, persuasion, and even self-destruction. It's a terrifying thought, knowing that we may not be as in control of our decisions as we think. But here's where Stoicism comes in, a philosophy that has been around for centuries, yet feels more relevant now than ever. Stoicism shines a light on these dark corners of human behavior. The Stoics didn't shy away from the uncomfortable truths of human nature. They embraced them and armed themselves with wisdom to navigate through the chaos. They knew that to understand ourselves, we must first confront the reality of how easily we are influenced, how unpredictable we can be, and how emotions, if unchecked, can lead us astray. It's easy to think that we're different, that we are somehow immune to the flaws and weaknesses of others. We look at society and think, that would never happen to me. But the truth is, we are all vulnerable. Our decisions are often shaped by forces we don't even recognize, emotions we haven't tamed, biases we haven't questioned, and social pressures we haven't resisted. It's a chilling realization, but it's one that Stoicism helps us confront head-on. Instead of running from these uncomfortable truths, Stoicism encourages us to face them with courage and clarity. Take a moment to reflect on how often we rely on external validation, whether it's approval from friends, recognition at work, or likes on social media. We are constantly seeking confirmation from the world around us. This need for validation controls us more than we like to admit. It drives our choices, clouds our judgment, and leaves us vulnerable to manipulation. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within. It urges us to let go of the need for external approval and instead cultivate self-mastery. This isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a path to freedom. The scariest part of human behavior isn't just how easily we are influenced, it's how unaware we are of the manipulation that takes place. People, companies, and institutions have spent years mastering the art of persuasion, using psychological tactics to guide our actions without us even noticing. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a fact backed by countless studies. But here's the thing, Stoicism gives us the tools to recognize these tactics and rise above them. By mastering our emotions, we take back control, refusing to be pawns in someone else's game. Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control how we respond. In a world where manipulation is everywhere, this simple truth is our greatest defense. The Stoics remind us that true power lies in our ability to maintain inner peace, even when the world around us tries to pull us in every direction. When we master our own minds, we become immune to the dark side of human behavior. We stop reacting out of fear or anger and start acting from a place of wisdom and calm. Consider how emotions dictate so much of human behavior. Fear, anger, and jealousy. These emotions drive people to make decisions that can lead to their own downfall. Wars have been started over unchecked emotions. Relationships have been destroyed, and lives have been ruined. We see it every day, in small ways and large, how people let their emotions control them. Stoicism teaches emotional mastery, a skill that not only protects us from external influences, but also shields us from the chaos within ourselves. It's not about suppressing emotions, it's about understanding them and not letting them dictate our actions. We often fall into the trap of believing that our emotions are the most honest part of ourselves. But emotions are fleeting, they change with the wind, and if we let them, they will lead us astray. The Stoics knew this, and that's why they emphasized the importance of cultivating inner tranquility. When we remain calm and composed, we make better decisions. We see situations for what they are, and we are less likely to fall into the traps that emotions can set for us. The reality of group behavior is perhaps one of the most unsettling truths about human nature. People in groups act in ways they never would alone. Rational individuals, when swept up in the crowd, can become unrecognizable. This phenomenon is rooted in deep psychological principles that have led to some of the darkest moments in history. Yet, Stoicism teaches us how to maintain our individuality in the face of such pressure. It urges us to remain grounded, to think for ourselves, and not be carried away by the tide of groupthink. It's a sobering fact that so many of the worst human behaviors stem from our desire to belong. People are willing to compromise their values, silence their conscience, and even participate in terrible acts just to feel accepted. Stoicism teaches us to rise above this need. It reminds us that integrity and personal virtue are far more valuable than the fleeting approval of a crowd. When we stand firm in our beliefs, we become unshakable, even in the face of overwhelming social pressure. The hidden biases that control people's decisions are another unsettling aspect of human behavior. We like to think that we are rational beings, that we make decisions based on logic and facts. But the truth is, our minds are full of biases, cognitive shortcuts that often lead us astray. These biases influence everything from the way we make financial decisions to how we judge others. And the worst part is, most of us aren't even aware they exist. Stoicism, however, teaches us to recognize these biases, to question our assumptions, and to approach life with a more thoughtful, deliberate mindset. One of the greatest gifts of Stoicism is its ability to help us see through the illusions that cloud our thinking. It encourages us to look beyond surface appearances, to question the narratives we've been fed, and to seek truth with an open and critical mind. In a world where deception is everywhere, whether it's from others or from our own minds, Stoicism serves as a guiding light, helping us navigate through the fog. The frightening reality is that human behavior is more unpredictable than we'd like to believe. People can be swayed by emotions, social pressure, and manipulation in ways that defy logic. This unpredictability is what makes human nature both fascinating and terrifying. But Stoicism offers us a path to understanding and mastering this unpredictability. It teaches us to stay grounded, to remain calm in the face of chaos, and to focus on what we can control, our own actions and reactions. In the end, Stoicism isn't just about understanding human behavior, it's about transcending it. By mastering our minds, we protect ourselves from the darker aspects of human nature. We learn to rise above manipulation, to remain calm in the face of emotional storms, and to stay true to ourselves, no matter what pressures we face. Stoicism isn't a shield that protects us from the harsh realities of life. It's a sword that helps us cut through the illusions and rise above them. So, as we dive into the unsettling truths of human behavior, let's do so with courage and clarity, knowing that Stoicism offers us the tools we need to navigate this complex world with wisdom and strength. The truths about human behavior are often far more disturbing than we care to admit. Deep within us lies a side we tend to overlook, a part shaped by impulses, emotions, and psychological biases that we rarely acknowledge. The Stoics, centuries ago, recognized this darker aspect of human nature and sought to understand it, not to judge or condemn, but to rise above it. Their teachings offer us a lens through which we can see the complexities of human behavior clearly, without flinching or turning away. And in doing so, they arm us with the tools to confront this darkness with clarity and strength. At the core of human behavior lies an inherent unpredictability. While we like to think of ourselves as rational beings, the truth is, we are often driven by impulses and emotions that we do not fully understand. Stoicism teaches us that accepting this reality is the first step toward mastering it. We cannot change the fact that human behavior is often irrational, but we can learn to control how we respond to it. This understanding provides a powerful defense against the chaos that often arises from others' unpredictable actions. The Stoics understood that human beings are often driven by fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These are powerful motivators that can lead us down dark paths. Whether it's making poor decisions or lashing out in anger, fear is often at the root of destructive behavior. Stoicism teaches us to confront our fears, to acknowledge them without letting them dictate our actions. By learning to master our fears, we can prevent them from controlling us and causing harm. One of the most unsettling aspects of human behavior is how easily people are influenced by those around them. In many cases, people act not out of their own free will, but because they are being subtly manipulated by others. Social pressure, cultural norms, and even advertising can push people to make choices that are not in their best interest. Stoicism offers a path to resisting these influences by teaching us to rely on our own judgment rather than being swayed by the opinions of others. Manipulation, in particular, is a disturbing aspect of human behavior that the Stoics were keenly aware of. Whether it's individuals manipulating each other for personal gain, or larger societal forces trying to control our thoughts and actions, manipulation is a powerful tool that can warp our sense of reality. Stoicism teaches us to recognize manipulation for what it is, a way to distort our thinking and steer us away from our true purpose. By cultivating a strong sense of self and clear judgment, we can avoid falling victim to these tactics. Group behavior can be one of the most dangerous aspects of human nature. When individuals come together, they can become capable of actions they would never consider on their own. This collective mindset often leads to the suppression of individual thought, pushing people to go along with the crowd even when they know it's wrong. Stoicism helps us remain anchored in our own values, even when the group around us is spiraling into irrationality. The strength to stand alone, to act with integrity, even when everyone else is swept up in chaos, is a hallmark of Stoic philosophy. Human behavior is also deeply shaped by hidden biases. We like to believe that we make decisions based on reason and logic, but the truth is that our minds are full of cognitive shortcuts, biases that influence our choices without us even realizing it. These biases can lead us to make flawed judgments, often to our own detriment. Stoicism encourages us to question our assumptions, to take a step back and examine our thought processes critically. By doing so, we can avoid being led astray by the unconscious forces that shape much of our behavior. Another disturbing aspect of human behavior is the way emotions can cloud our judgment. Emotions like anger, jealousy, and fear can be powerful motivators, pushing us to act in ways we later regret. Stoicism teaches emotional mastery, the ability to feel emotions without being controlled by them. This practice helps us navigate difficult situations with calm and clarity, allowing us to make decisions based on reason rather than emotion. By mastering our emotions, we free ourselves from the impulsive actions that can lead to suffering. The Stoics also warned about the dangers of relying on external validation. In today's world, where social media and public opinion often dictate our sense of self-worth, this lesson is more relevant than ever. The need for approval from others can lead us to compromise our values, making decisions based on what will earn us praise rather than what is right. Stoicism teaches us to look inward for validation, to cultivate a sense of self that is not dependent on the opinions of others. This inner strength allows us to act with integrity, regardless of what the world around us says. One of the most unsettling truths about human behavior is how easily we can be deceived. Whether by others or by our own minds, deception is a constant presence in our lives. We often fall victim to lies and manipulation without even realizing it. Stoicism helps us develop mindfulness, the ability to be fully present and aware of the world around us. This heightened awareness allows us to see through deception and make decisions based on truth rather than falsehoods. Human behavior is also shaped by the influence of authority. Throughout history, people have blindly followed leaders, even when those leaders led them down destructive paths. This tendency to obey authority without question is a dangerous aspect of human nature. Stoicism teaches us to question authority, to think critically about the actions and motivations of those in power. By cultivating our own sense of judgment, we can avoid being swept up in the blind obedience that has led to so many tragedies throughout history. The Stoics believed that human nature is inherently flawed. We are not perfect beings, and we will make mistakes. But instead of being discouraged by this, Stoicism teaches us to accept our flaws and work to improve ourselves. This process of self-improvement is not about achieving perfection, but about becoming better day by day. By recognizing our own flaws, we also develop greater compassion for others, understanding that they, too, are struggling with the same challenges we face. One of the greatest challenges in life is resisting the pull of emotions when they are at their strongest. Whether it's the heat of anger or the sting of jealousy, emotions can overpower our reason if we're not careful. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate inner calm, to remain centered even in the midst of emotional storms. This calmness allows us to respond to situations thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In this way, we can navigate the emotional ups and downs of life with grace and wisdom. Stoicism also offers powerful insights into the dangers of persuasion. From subtle sales tactics to grand political speeches, people are constantly trying to persuade us to see things their way. While some persuasion is harmless, much of it is manipulative, designed to make us act against our best interests. Stoicism teaches us to be wary of persuasive tactics, to question the motives behind them, and to trust our own judgment rather than being swayed by eloquent words or flashy promises. One of the most frightening aspects of human behavior is how easily we can be controlled by our environment. The people we surround ourselves with, the media we consume, and the situations we find ourselves in all have a profound impact on our behavior. Stoicism teaches us to take control of our internal environment, cultivating a mind that is resistant to external influences. By focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our responses, we can maintain our sense of self even in the most challenging circumstances. In addition to helping us understand the dark side of human behavior, Stoicism also offers a path to rising above it. By mastering our minds and emotions, we can avoid the pitfalls that lead so many astray. We can act with integrity, guided by reason and wisdom, rather than being driven by fear, anger, or social pressure. In this way, Stoicism offers not only an understanding of human behavior, but also a blueprint for living a virtuous life, free from the chaos that so often consumes others. Stoicism also reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. Human nature may be flawed, but we are all in this together. The more we understand about ourselves, the more empathy we can develop for others. Instead of judging or condemning people for their weaknesses, we can offer compassion and support, knowing that we too are susceptible to the same failings. This sense of shared humanity is a core tenet of Stoicism and serves as a foundation for a life of virtue and wisdom. The Stoics believed that by understanding the dark side of human behavior, we could cultivate resilience. Life is full of challenges, and people will often act in ways that hurt or disappoint us. But by expecting these challenges and preparing for them, we can remain strong in the face of adversity. Stoicism teaches us to be mentally and emotionally prepared for the unpredictability of human behavior, so we are not caught off guard when things go wrong. Understanding the darker aspects of human behavior also helps us develop patience. People will act irrationally, and they will make mistakes. But instead of reacting with frustration or anger, Stoicism encourages us to respond with patience and understanding. This patience is not about condoning bad behavior, but about accepting that people are imperfect and that change takes time. By cultivating patience, we can navigate the complexities of human relationships with grace and wisdom. One of the most unsettling truths about human behavior is how quickly emotions can spiral out of control. A small slight can turn into a full-blown argument. A minor frustration can become overwhelming anger. Stoicism teaches us to be mindful of these emotional spirals and to stop them before they get out of hand. By recognizing the early signs of emotional escalation, we can take a step back, breathe, and respond calmly rather than react impulsively. Human behavior is also deeply influenced by our past experiences. The way we were raised, the traumas we've faced, the successes we've had, all of these things shape how we act in the present. Stoicism encourages us to reflect on our past, not to dwell on it, but to learn from it. By understanding how our past experiences influence our behavior, we can make more conscious decisions in the present, rather than being controlled by old patterns and habits. The Stoics also recognized the power of habit in shaping human behavior. Good habits lead to good outcomes, while bad habits can lead to a life of chaos and regret. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate positive habits, habits of thought, action, and emotion that support a life of virtue and wisdom. By making small, consistent changes to our daily routines, we can gradually transform our behavior and build a life that is aligned with our values. Another unsettling aspect of human behavior is the way people often act out of self-interest, even when it harms others. Stoicism teaches us to rise above selfishness and act for the greater good. This doesn't mean sacrificing our own needs, but rather finding a balance between taking care of ourselves and contributing to the well-being of others. By acting with kindness and generosity, we can create a ripple effect of positive behavior in the world. Understanding the dark side of human behavior also helps us recognize the importance of boundaries. People will often push us to our limits, whether intentionally or not. Stoicism teaches us to set clear boundaries that protect our mental and emotional well-being. By knowing our limits and standing firm in them, we can avoid being overwhelmed or taken advantage of by others. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of self-awareness in understanding human behavior. By taking the time to reflect on our actions, thoughts, and motivations, we can gain deeper insight into why we behave the way we do. This self-awareness is the key to personal growth and transformation. It allows us to see where we need to improve and gives us the tools to make those changes. Human behavior is also shaped by our desires. We often chase after things, money, success, fame, believing that they will bring us happiness. But the Stoics taught that true happiness comes not from external achievements, but from inner peace. By letting go of our attachment to material things and focusing on cultivating inner tranquility, we can find lasting contentment, no matter what is happening in the outside world. The Stoics also believed that understanding the dark side of human behavior was essential for achieving wisdom. Wisdom, they taught, is not about knowing everything, but about understanding the complexities of life and making thoughtful, considered decisions. By embracing the truths of human nature, both its light and its dark, we can cultivate the wisdom to navigate life's challenges with grace and integrity. Ultimately, Stoicism offers us a way to understand the darker aspects of human behavior without being overwhelmed by them. It teaches us to confront the realities of life with courage, to accept what we cannot control, and to take responsibility for our own actions. In doing so, we not only understand human behavior more deeply, but we also rise above it, living with purpose, peace, and wisdom. As we close the chapter on understanding the darker aspects of human behavior, we now shift our focus to one of the most unsettling truths about how people interact with the world: the ease with which they are influenced. It's one thing to recognize our own flaws and limitations, but it's another to realize how easily our thoughts, decisions, and actions can be shaped by forces beyond our control. Whether through subtle persuasion, peer pressure, or more blatant forms of manipulation, people are often led down paths they would never have chosen on their own. The Stoics had much to say about this uncomfortable truth, offering insights into how we can regain control of our minds and avoid being pulled by the currents of external influence. Human beings are social creatures, and this social nature makes us vulnerable to influence. From the moment we are born, we begin to absorb the behaviors, values, and beliefs of those around us. This is natural, of course, but it becomes dangerous when we lose sight of our own judgment and simply follow the crowd. The Stoics warned that blindly conforming to the opinions of others leads to a loss of autonomy, making us susceptible to manipulation. True wisdom, they taught, comes from cultivating a sense of inner clarity that allows us to stand firm in our beliefs, regardless of external pressures. One of the most common ways people are influenced is through the opinions of others. It's an unsettling truth, but many of us seek validation from those around us, shaping our actions to fit what we think others want to see. This desire for approval can lead us to compromise our values, to take actions that go against our better judgment, all for the sake of fitting in. Stoicism teaches us to free ourselves from this need for validation, reminding us that true contentment comes from within. When we no longer rely on the opinions of others to define our worth, we can act with integrity and wisdom, regardless of what the world expects. Advertising is one of the most pervasive forms of influence in today's society. We are bombarded with messages designed to make us feel inadequate, to convince us that happiness lies in buying a certain product or living a certain lifestyle. The Stoics understood that the constant pursuit of external possessions is a trap. They taught that true fulfillment comes not from acquiring more, but from needing less. By recognizing the manipulative nature of advertising, we can break free from the cycle of consumerism and focus on what truly matters: our own personal growth and peace of mind. Peer pressure is another powerful force that shapes human behavior. Even as adults, we often feel the need to conform to the expectations of those around us, whether in social situations, at work, or within our families. The fear of being judged or excluded can lead us to make choices that don't align with our true selves. Stoicism offers a path to resisting peer pressure by teaching us to prioritize our own principles over the opinions of others. When we live in accordance with our values, we can stand firm, even when others try to push us in a different direction. Social media has amplified the ways in which people are influenced, creating a constant stream of curated images and opinions that shape how we see the world and ourselves. The pressure to present a perfect life online, to keep up with the latest trends, can be overwhelming. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what is within our control, our own actions and thoughts. By letting go of the need to compete or compare ourselves to others, we can find a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on likes or followers. The media, in general, plays a significant role in shaping public opinion. News outlets, social platforms, and entertainment channels often present information in ways that provoke strong emotional reactions, encouraging us to form opinions quickly and without much thought. The Stoics taught the importance of critical thinking and caution when absorbing information. By taking a step back and reflecting before reacting, we can avoid being swayed by sensationalism and make more thoughtful, rational decisions. One of the most disturbing ways people are influenced is through fear. Fear is a powerful motivator, and those who wish to control others often use it to their advantage. Whether through political rhetoric, social pressure, or media sensationalism, fear can cause people to act in ways they never would under normal circumstances. Stoicism teaches us to confront our fears head-on, to understand them, and to rise above them. By cultivating courage and emotional resilience, we can resist the manipulative power of fear and make decisions based on reason, not anxiety. Even in personal relationships, influence plays a significant role. We often adapt our behaviors, opinions, and even our goals to align with those of the people closest to us, sometimes without even realizing it. This can be a positive force when the influence is healthy, but it can also lead us away from our true path. Stoicism encourages us to be mindful of the influence others have on us and to maintain our own sense of direction. By staying true to ourselves, we can build relationships that are based on mutual respect rather than conformity. Another subtle but powerful form of influence comes from societal norms and cultural expectations. From a young age, we are taught what is considered normal or acceptable, and we often internalize these expectations without questioning them. The Stoics believed in questioning the status quo, in examining societal norms critically rather than blindly accepting them. By doing so, we can free ourselves from the constraints of convention and live according to our own values. Authority figures also hold a great deal of influence over people's behavior. Throughout history, individuals have followed leaders, sometimes into disastrous situations, simply because of their perceived authority. The Stoics warned against blindly following authority and urged individuals to think for themselves. While respecting wisdom and experience is important, it is equally crucial to maintain our own judgment and not be swayed by the mere presence of power. Another way people are influenced is through repetition. The more we hear a message, the more likely we are to believe it, even if it is not true. This is a well-known psychological phenomenon, and it is often used by those who wish to manipulate public opinion. Stoicism teaches us to be vigilant in guarding our minds against false information. By remaining aware of how repetition influences our thinking, we can protect ourselves from falling into the trap of believing something just because it has been repeated enough times. Even our habits can be influenced by the people and environments around us. The Stoics emphasized the importance of cultivating good habits, habits of thought, speech, and action. By being mindful of how our surroundings influence our behavior, we can take control of our own habits and ensure they align with our values rather than being shaped by external forces. One of the most unsettling aspects of influence is how easily people can be persuaded to act against their own best interests. whether through flattery, manipulation, or coercion, people can be convinced to make choices that ultimately harm them. Stoicism offers a defense against this by teaching us to remain grounded in our principles and to think critically before making decisions. By staying true to ourselves, we can resist the pull of persuasion and act in ways that serve our long-term well-being. The Stoics also recognized the influence of emotions on decision-making. When we are in the grip of strong emotions, whether anger, fear, or excitement, it becomes difficult to think clearly. Those who wish to manipulate others often seek to provoke these emotions, knowing that emotional people are easier to control. Stoicism teaches us to master our emotions, to feel them without being overwhelmed by them. This emotional mastery allows us to make decisions based on reason rather than being swept away by feelings. Another important aspect of influence is the role of incentives. People are often motivated by rewards, whether they are financial, social, or emotional. Those who seek to control others often use incentives to shape behavior, offering rewards for compliance and punishments for disobedience. Stoicism teaches us to be wary of external incentives, reminding us that true fulfillment comes from within. By focusing on internal rewards, such as peace of mind and personal growth, we can resist the temptation to be swayed by external incentives. Groupthink is a phenomenon in which people, in the pursuit of harmony and consensus, suppress their own opinions and go along with the majority. This can lead to disastrous decisions, as critical thinking is replaced by a desire to conform. Stoicism encourages us to think independently and to value our own judgment, even when it goes against the majority. By maintaining a strong sense of self, we can avoid falling into the trap of groupthink. One of the most pervasive forms of influence is the desire for status. People are often driven by a need to achieve higher social standing, and this can lead them to make choices that are not in their best interest. Stoicism teaches us to let go of the desire for external recognition and to focus on inner fulfillment instead. By freeing ourselves from the need for status, we can make choices that are aligned with our values rather than being driven by a desire for approval. The Stoics also recognized the influence of scarcity on human behavior. When something is perceived as scarce, whether it's time, resources, or opportunities, people are more likely to act impulsively and make poor decisions. Those who wish to manipulate others often create a sense of urgency, knowing that scarcity drives action. Stoicism teaches us to remain calm in the face of scarcity, to think rationally, and not be swayed by the pressure to act quickly. By cultivating patience, we can avoid making impulsive decisions that we later regret. Another subtle form of influence is the way language shapes our thoughts. The words we use to describe situations, people, and events can influence how we perceive them. Those who seek to control others often use language to frame situations in a way that benefits them. Stoicism teaches us to be mindful of the language we use and to think critically about the words we hear. By paying attention to language, we can avoid being swayed by rhetoric and remain grounded in reality. Human beings are also influenced by the desire for certainty. In an uncertain world, people often seek out answers, even when those answers are incomplete or false. Those who wish to influence others often present themselves as authorities, offering simple solutions to complex problems. Stoicism teaches us to embrace uncertainty and to accept that not all questions have clear answers. By remaining comfortable with ambiguity, we can avoid being misled by those who claim to have all the answers. The Stoics also understood the influence of comparison on human behavior. People often compare themselves to others, leading to feelings of inadequacy or envy. This comparison can drive people to make decisions that are not in their best interest as they seek to keep up with those around them. Stoicism teaches us to let go of comparison and to focus on our own path. By finding contentment within ourselves, we can avoid the trap of comparison and make decisions based on what is truly important to us. One of the most troubling aspects of influence is how it can shape our beliefs about ourselves. People often internalize the opinions of others, believing that they are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. Stoicism teaches us to reject these limiting beliefs and to cultivate a sense of self-worth that is based on our own actions and principles. By believing in ourselves and our abilities, we can resist the negative influence of others and pursue our own goals with confidence. Stoicism also offers insights into how to resist the influence of flattery. People often use flattery to manipulate others, appealing to their egos in order to gain control. The Stoics warned against falling for flattery, teaching that true self-esteem comes from within, not from the praise of others. By recognizing flattery for what it is, a tool of manipulation, we can remain grounded and act with integrity, regardless of how others try to influence us. The Stoics understood the many ways in which people are influenced, both consciously and unconsciously. From social pressure to emotional manipulation, the forces that shape human behavior are powerful and pervasive. But Stoicism offers a path to resisting these influences, teaching us to cultivate inner clarity, emotional mastery, and a strong sense of self. By remaining true to our principles and focusing on what we can control, we can navigate the complexities of influence with wisdom and strength. As we leave behind the unsettling reality of how easily people can be influenced, we now step into another profound Stoic truth: the unpredictability of human nature. If understanding how we're influenced shook your perception, then the realization that human nature itself is far more unpredictable than we like to believe will challenge it even further. The Stoics didn't simply accept that people were difficult to understand. They embraced this complexity. They saw unpredictability as part of what it means to be human, and they used their philosophy to navigate this uncertainty with wisdom and resilience. Human nature is unpredictable because it is constantly shaped by countless internal and external forces. Every person you meet is a walking web of experiences, emotions, beliefs, and desires, all colliding and shifting within them. One moment someone may seem calm and rational, and the next they could be overwhelmed by anger or fear. This volatility is not a flaw, but an inherent part of being human. Stoicism teaches us to accept that people will often act in ways that surprise us, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. By acknowledging this unpredictability, we can respond to others with more patience and understanding. The Stoics believed that much of human unpredictability comes from our emotions. While we like to think that we are rational creatures, the truth is that our emotions often drive our actions more than logic does. Emotions are powerful and can change rapidly, leading people to behave in ways that even they cannot predict. The Stoics taught that rather than trying to suppress emotions, we should learn to manage them. By cultivating emotional resilience, we can stay calm even when others act unpredictably, allowing us to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Another reason why human nature is so unpredictable is because people are constantly changing. We are not static beings. Our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors evolve over time. This makes it difficult to predict how someone will act in the future based on their past behavior. Stoicism teaches us to embrace this change rather than resist it. By recognizing that people are always growing and shifting, we can remain flexible in our interactions with them, allowing space for both ourselves and others to evolve. People are also unpredictable because they are influenced by factors we cannot see. We often judge others based on their actions without knowing the full story behind those actions. Perhaps they are dealing with stress, grief, or other challenges that we are unaware of. The Stoics understood that we should not be quick to judge others based on limited information. Instead, they encouraged us to approach situations with humility, knowing that there is always more going on beneath the surface than we can perceive. One of the most unpredictable aspects of human nature is our capacity for contradiction. People can hold conflicting beliefs, desires, and emotions simultaneously, leading them to act in ways that are inconsistent or surprising. A person may say one thing and do another, not out of deceit, but because they are wrestling with opposing forces within themselves. Stoicism teaches us to accept these contradictions as part of the human experience. Rather than being frustrated by them, we can learn to navigate them with patience and wisdom. The unpredictability of human nature is also evident in how people respond to pressure. Under normal circumstances, someone may act calmly and rationally, but when faced with stress or adversity, their behavior can change dramatically. Stoicism teaches us to remain steady in the face of such unpredictability. By cultivating inner calm and resilience, we can act as a stabilizing force for others, offering support when they are struggling and helping to bring clarity to chaotic situations. People's motivations are another area where unpredictability reigns. We often assume that we know why someone is acting a certain way, but the truth is that people's motivations are complex and often hidden. Someone may appear to be acting out of kindness when they are really seeking approval, or they may seem indifferent when they are actually deeply invested. Stoicism teaches us to be cautious in our judgments, recognizing that motivations are rarely straightforward. By approaching others with curiosity rather than assumption, we can better understand their true intentions. Human nature is also unpredictable because of the influence of external circumstances. People's behavior is often shaped by their environment, and even the most stable person can be affected by changes in their surroundings. A sudden loss, a new opportunity, or a shift in relationships can all lead to unexpected changes in behavior. The Stoics understood that while we cannot control the external world, we can control how we respond to it. By remaining grounded in our values, we can navigate the unpredictability of others' reactions without being thrown off course ourselves. One of the more unsettling aspects of human unpredictability is how easily people can be swayed by their peers. Even individuals who seem confident and independent can change their behavior when they are in a group. This is especially true in situations where there is pressure to conform. Stoicism teaches us to be mindful of how group dynamics can influence behavior. By staying true to our own principles, we can avoid being swept up in the unpredictable actions of others, even in a crowd. People's desires are another source of unpredictability. What someone wants today may not be what they want tomorrow. Desires are fleeting and often driven by emotions or external influences, leading people to pursue things that ultimately do not fulfill them. The Stoics taught that true contentment comes not from chasing after fleeting desires, but from cultivating inner peace and self-sufficiency. By focusing on what we can control, our own actions and thoughts, we can remain stable even as the desires of those around us shift unpredictably. Another reason human nature is so unpredictable is that people often do not know themselves as well as they think they do. We all have blind spots, areas of our personality or behavior that we are unaware of or unwilling to confront. These blind spots can lead to unexpected actions as people act out of unconscious motivations or unresolved emotions. Stoicism encourages self-reflection as a way to uncover these blind spots and gain greater self-awareness. By understanding ourselves more deeply, we can reduce the unpredictability of our own behavior and approach others with greater empathy. The unpredictability of human nature is also evident in how people deal with success and failure. Some people may handle failure with grace and resilience, while others may be crushed by it. Similarly, success can bring out the best in some, while leading others to arrogance or complacency. Stoicism teaches us to approach both success and failure with equanimity, recognizing that neither defines us. By maintaining a balanced perspective, we can navigate the unpredictability of life's highs and lows without being overwhelmed by them. People are unpredictable because they often act out of fear. Fear can lead people to make decisions that go against their own values or long-term interests. Whether it is fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown, this emotion can drive people to act in ways that surprise even themselves. The Stoics understood that fear is a powerful force, but they also believed that it could be overcome through reason and self-discipline. By confronting our fears directly and learning to manage them, we can reduce their influence over our behavior. Human nature is also unpredictable because of the way people respond to change. Some people thrive in new and uncertain situations, while others struggle to adapt. This difference in how people handle change can lead to unexpected behavior, especially in times of crisis or transition. Stoicism teaches us to embrace change rather than fear it. By accepting that change is a natural part of life, we can remain flexible and adaptable, allowing us to navigate unpredictable situations with grace. Another reason why human nature is so unpredictable is because people often act out of habit rather than conscious choice. Many of our actions are driven by patterns of behavior that we have developed over time, and these habits can be difficult to change. The Stoics believed in the power of intentional action and encouraged people to cultivate good habits that align with their values. By becoming more mindful of our habits, we can gain greater control over our behavior and reduce the unpredictability that comes from acting on autopilot. People's moods are another source of unpredictability. Emotions can change quickly, often for reasons that are not immediately clear. A person who is cheerful one moment may become irritable the next, seemingly without cause. Stoicism teaches us to be patient with the emotional fluctuations of others, recognizing that moods are temporary and do not define a person's character. By remaining calm and steady, we can avoid being drawn into the emotional ups and downs of those around us. The unpredictability of human nature is also evident in the way people handle conflict. Some people avoid conflict at all costs, while others thrive on it. This difference in approach can lead to unexpected outcomes in disagreements or negotiations. Stoicism teaches us to approach conflict with a calm and rational mindset, focusing on finding solutions rather than winning arguments. By keeping our emotions in check, we can navigate conflicts more effectively and reduce the unpredictability of the situation. One of the most profound sources of unpredictability in human nature is the way people respond to suffering. Some people are able to find meaning and growth in difficult experiences, while others may be crushed by their pain. The Stoics believed that suffering was an inevitable part of life, but they also believed that it could be a source of strength. By cultivating resilience and focusing on what we can control, we can navigate suffering with dignity and emerge stronger on the other side. Human nature is unpredictable because people are often influenced by unconscious biases. These biases can lead to behavior that is inconsistent or surprising, as people act in ways that contradict their stated beliefs or values. Stoicism teaches us to question our assumptions and to approach situations with an open mind. By becoming more aware of our own biases, we can reduce their influence on our behavior and make more thoughtful, deliberate choices. The unpredictability of human nature is also evident in the way people respond to authority. Some people are naturally rebellious, while others are more inclined to follow orders without question. This difference in attitude can lead to unexpected behavior in situations where authority is involved. Stoicism encourages us to think critically about authority and to make decisions based on our own principles rather than simply following the crowd. By doing so, we can remain true to ourselves, even in situations where others are acting unpredictably. Another reason human nature is so unpredictable is because people are influenced by their past experiences. Trauma, success, and failure all shape how people view the world and respond to situations. This can lead to behavior that is difficult to understand without knowing the full context of someone's life. Stoicism teaches us to approach others with compassion, recognizing that everyone carries their own unique burdens. By cultivating empathy, we can navigate the unpredictability of human behavior with greater understanding and patience. People are also unpredictable because they are often torn between conflicting desires. A person may want to pursue a career, but also long for a more relaxed lifestyle. These internal conflicts can lead to behavior that seems erratic or inconsistent. Stoicism teaches us to clarify our priorities and focus on what truly matters. By aligning our actions with our values, we can reduce the internal conflicts that lead to unpredictable behavior. Human nature is unpredictable because people are often influenced by their environment. The people we surround ourselves with, the places we live, and the cultures we belong to all shape how we think and act. This means that someone's behavior can change dramatically depending on their circumstances. Stoicism teaches us to be adaptable and to focus on controlling our own actions, regardless of the environment we find ourselves in. By staying grounded in our principles, we can navigate the unpredictability of others' behavior without losing our own sense of self. Another reason why human nature is so unpredictable is because people often act out of a desire for power. The pursuit of power can lead people to make choices that are surprising or even destructive, as they prioritize their own ambition over the well-being of others. Stoicism teaches us to be wary of the pursuit of power, reminding us that true strength comes from within. By focusing on self-mastery rather than external power, we can avoid the pitfalls that come from seeking control over others. The unpredictability of human nature is also evident in the way people respond to love and relationships. Emotions like love can lead people to act in ways that are surprising, even to themselves. Stoicism teaches us to approach relationships with wisdom and balance, recognizing that love, while powerful, should not lead us to compromise our own principles. By cultivating emotional resilience, we can navigate the unpredictability of relationships with grace and understanding. People are unpredictable because they are often motivated by a desire for recognition. The need to be seen and appreciated can drive people to act in ways that are inconsistent with their values. Stoicism teaches us to let go of the need for external validation and to focus on our own inner sense of worth. By cultivating self-confidence, we can resist the temptation to act for the sake of recognition and remain true to ourselves. Human nature is unpredictable because people are influenced by their physical state. Hunger, fatigue, illness. These physical conditions can all affect how we think and act. Stoicism teaches us to be mindful of our physical state and to take care of our bodies as a way of maintaining emotional and mental stability. By ensuring that our basic needs are met, we can reduce the unpredictability of our behavior and approach life with greater clarity. In the end, the Stoics believed that the unpredictability of human nature was something to be accepted, not feared. They recognized that while people are complex and often act in surprising ways, this unpredictability is part of what makes life rich and meaningful. By embracing the uncertainty of human behavior, we can cultivate greater patience, empathy, and wisdom, allowing us to navigate life's complexities with grace. In doing so, we not only better understand others, but also deepen our understanding of ourselves. Having explored the unpredictable nature of individuals, we now confront something even more unsettling: the dynamics of group behavior. What happens when people come together, and why do they often act in ways that defy reason? The truth is, the psychology behind group behavior reveals a darker side of humanity, one where individuals lose their sense of self, becoming capable of actions they would never consider on their own. The Stoics understood this disturbing truth about human nature, and they offered invaluable insights on how to remain grounded when caught in the powerful current of group dynamics. Group behavior is shaped by a force that is difficult to resist: conformity. When people gather in groups, there is an overwhelming pressure to fit in, to align oneself with the group's opinions, values, and actions. This pressure can cause individuals to suppress their own beliefs, even when they know they are right, out of fear of standing out. The Stoics taught the importance of maintaining one's integrity in the face of this pressure. They believed that wisdom lies in thinking for oneself, even when the group pulls you in a different direction. To stand firm in one's values, especially when surrounded by a crowd, is a rare and courageous act. The loss of individuality in a group setting is one of the most disturbing aspects of group behavior. People often act in ways that are uncharacteristic of themselves when they are in a group, influenced by the collective energy and mindset of those around them. This is why group decisions can sometimes lead to outcomes that are more extreme than any one individual would have chosen on their own. The Stoics recognized that this loss of individuality can be dangerous. They emphasized the need for self-awareness, urging individuals to remain connected to their own sense of self, even when surrounded by the powerful influence of a group. One of the most dangerous aspects of group behavior is the tendency toward mob mentality. When people are part of a group, they can become swept up in the emotions and actions of the crowd, leading them to participate in behaviors they would never engage in alone. Whether it's violence, aggression, or simply going along with harmful decisions, the mob mentality can strip people of their moral compass. The Stoics warned against this phenomenon, teaching that true strength comes from maintaining inner control, even when chaos erupts around you. Group behavior often leads to a diffusion of responsibility. When people act within a group, they tend to feel less accountable for their actions. This sense of shared responsibility can embolden individuals to behave in ways that they would otherwise avoid. They may think, "It's not just me, everyone is doing it," which makes it easier to justify unethical or harmful behavior. Stoicism teaches personal responsibility, reminding us that we are accountable for our own actions, regardless of the influence of others. By embracing this sense of individual responsibility, we can resist the temptation to follow the group down a destructive path. Another unsettling truth about group behavior is how it amplifies emotions. Emotions like anger, fear, and excitement can spread quickly in a group, creating an atmosphere that heightens irrational decision-making. This emotional contagion can lead to actions that are impulsive and poorly thought out. The Stoics believed in mastering one's emotions, understanding that clear, rational thinking is impossible when emotions are in control. By remaining calm and detached from the emotional waves that sweep through a group, we can maintain clarity of mind and act with wisdom, even when those around us are acting impulsively. Groups also create a powerful need for acceptance. People are social by nature, and the desire to belong is deeply ingrained in human psychology. This need for acceptance can lead individuals to compromise their values, beliefs, and principles in order to gain approval from the group. The Stoics warned against placing too much value on external validation, teaching that true self-worth comes from within. When we no longer seek approval from others, we are free to act according to our own moral compass, even when it goes against the group's expectations. One of the most dangerous dynamics in group behavior is the phenomenon of groupthink. Groupthink occurs when the desire for harmony within the group leads to poor decision-making. People avoid raising objections or expressing dissenting opinions because they fear disrupting the unity of the group. This can result in disastrous decisions, as critical thinking is replaced by a blind desire to maintain consensus. Stoicism encourages independent thinking and the courage to speak up, even when it's uncomfortable. By staying true to our principles, we can avoid being swept into the trap of groupthink. The power of authority within a group setting is another disturbing element of group behavior. People often defer to leaders or figures of authority within a group, even when they disagree with the direction those leaders are taking. This deference can lead to unethical or harmful decisions being carried out because individuals feel powerless to resist. The Stoics believed in questioning authority, not in a rebellious sense, but as a way of ensuring that one's actions align with reason and virtue. By maintaining our own judgment, we can resist the pull of authority figures who may lead us astray. Group behavior is also influenced by social hierarchies. Within any group, there is often a pecking order, and individuals are influenced by their position within that hierarchy. People in lower positions may feel pressured to conform to the wishes of those above them, while those in higher positions may feel emboldened to impose their will on others. The Stoics believed in treating everyone with respect and equality, regardless of their social status. By rejecting the idea of hierarchical dominance, we can approach group dynamics with a sense of fairness and justice. Another unsettling truth about group behavior is the way it can erode empathy. In a group, people can become disconnected from the humanity of others, especially those outside the group. This lack of empathy can lead to dehumanizing behaviors, where individuals are seen as others rather than as fellow human beings. Stoicism teaches the importance of universal kindness and empathy, reminding us that all people are part of a larger human community. By cultivating empathy, we can resist the divisive tendencies that arise in group settings and treat others with the dignity they deserve. Group behavior also often leads to the creation of us versus them mentalities. When people form groups, they tend to identify strongly with their group and view those outside of it with suspicion or hostility. This division can lead to conflict, discrimination, and even violence. The Stoics believed in the interconnectedness of all people, teaching that we are all part of a single human family. By rejecting the divisive mindset of us versus them, we can foster a more inclusive and compassionate approach to group dynamics. One of the most unsettling aspects of group behavior is how easily people can be manipulated by charismatic leaders. Charismatic figures can sway the opinions and actions of a group, leading people to act in ways that go against their better judgment. The Stoics warned against blindly following charismatic leaders, teaching that wisdom comes from within, not from external figures of authority. By maintaining our own sense of judgment, we can resist the influence of manipulative leaders and remain true to our values. Group behavior can also be influenced by the fear of exclusion. People fear being ostracized from the group, which can lead them to go along with actions or decisions they disagree with. This fear of exclusion can be a powerful motivator, pushing individuals to compromise their principles in order to stay within the group. Stoicism teaches us to be comfortable with solitude and to prioritize our integrity over the approval of others. By embracing the possibility of standing alone, we can resist the fear of exclusion and act according to our own moral compass. Another unsettling truth about group behavior is the way it can normalize unethical actions. When a group collectively engages in unethical behavior, individuals within the group may feel that their actions are justified simply because everyone else is doing it. This normalization of unethical behavior can lead to serious moral consequences. Stoicism teaches the importance of personal ethics and integrity, reminding us that we are responsible for our own actions, regardless of what others around us are doing. By maintaining our commitment to virtue, we can avoid being swept into the normalization of wrongdoing. Group behavior is also influenced by the need for social cohesion. People often prioritize the harmony of the group over individual moral considerations, leading them to go along with decisions that they may not fully agree with. This desire for cohesion can suppress dissent and lead to a lack of critical thinking. The Stoics believed that true harmony comes from individuals acting with wisdom and integrity, not from blindly following the group. By fostering open dialogue and encouraging independent thought, we can create groups that are both cohesive and ethical. One of the most disturbing aspects of group behavior is how it can lead to a loss of personal accountability. In a group setting, individuals may feel that they are not fully responsible for their actions because they are part of a collective effort. This diffusion of responsibility can lead to actions that individuals would never take on their own. Stoicism teaches personal accountability, reminding us that we are always responsible for our own actions, regardless of the group we are part of. By embracing this sense of accountability, we can avoid being influenced by the dangerous dynamics of group behavior. Group behavior is also shaped by the influence of collective emotions. Emotions like fear, anger, and excitement can spread quickly through a group, leading to irrational and impulsive actions. This emotional contagion can cause people to act in ways that are inconsistent with their values or long-term goals. The Stoics believed in emotional mastery, teaching that we should remain calm and rational, even when those around us are swept up in emotional waves. By maintaining our emotional balance, we can avoid being drawn into the collective emotions of the group and make decisions based on reason. The fear of being judged by others is another powerful force that shapes group behavior. People often act in ways that they believe will be accepted by the group, even if those actions go against their own beliefs or values. This fear of judgment can lead to a loss of authenticity as individuals suppress their true selves in order to fit in. Stoicism teaches us to let go of the need for external validation and to act according to our own inner principles. By rejecting the fear of judgment, we can remain authentic and true to ourselves, even when surrounded by group pressure. Another disturbing truth about group behavior is how easily people can be swayed by social comparison. In a group, individuals often compare themselves to others, leading to feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, or competition. This comparison can drive people to act in ways that are not aligned with their values as they strive to keep up with those around them. The Stoics taught that true contentment comes from within, not from comparing ourselves to others. By focusing on our own personal growth and well-being, we can avoid the trap of social comparison and act with integrity. Group behavior is also influenced by the dynamics of power and control. In many groups, there are individuals who seek to dominate or control others, either through manipulation or coercion. This power struggle can create an atmosphere of tension and fear, leading to unhealthy group dynamics. The Stoics believed in the importance of humility and self-mastery, teaching that true power comes from controlling oneself, not from controlling others. By rejecting the desire for power over others, we can foster healthier and more equitable group interactions. One of the most unsettling aspects of group behavior is how quickly people can turn against each other. In situations of stress or conflict, groups can become divided, with individuals scapegoating or blaming others for problems. This tendency to turn on fellow group members can lead to destructive behavior and a breakdown of trust. Stoicism teaches the importance of compassion and understanding, reminding us that we are all interconnected and that conflict can be resolved through reason and empathy. By fostering a spirit of cooperation rather than division, we can help to create more harmonious group dynamics. Group behavior is also influenced by the desire for recognition and status. In many groups, individuals compete for attention, approval, or leadership positions, leading to unhealthy competition and power struggles. This desire for recognition can drive people to act in ways that are inconsistent with their values, as they seek to gain the approval of others. Stoicism teaches us to let go of the need for external recognition and to focus on our own inner sense of worth. By cultivating self-confidence, we can avoid the destructive competition that often arises in group settings. Another disturbing truth about group behavior is how it can lead to the suppression of individuality. In many groups, there is a strong pressure to conform to the group's norms, values, and behaviors, leading individuals to suppress their unique perspectives and qualities. This loss of individuality can lead to a lack of creativity, innovation, and critical thinking within the group. Stoicism teaches us to embrace our individuality and to act according to our own principles, even when they differ from those of the group. By fostering individuality within group settings, we can create more diverse and dynamic group interactions. Group behavior is also influenced by the dynamics of trust and loyalty. People within groups often feel a sense of loyalty to their fellow group members, which can lead them to act in ways that they might not otherwise choose. This loyalty can sometimes lead to unethical or harmful decisions, as individuals prioritize the interests of the group over their own moral principles. Stoicism teaches the importance of maintaining personal ethics and integrity, even when it conflicts with group loyalty. By staying true to our own values, we can foster trust and loyalty that is based on mutual respect and ethical behavior. Finally, the Stoics believed that group behavior, while often unsettling, can also be a source of strength and growth when approached with wisdom and self-awareness. They taught that while it is important to be mindful of the dangers of group dynamics, it is equally important to recognize the potential for positive collaboration and mutual support. By fostering open communication, critical thinking, and emotional resilience, we can navigate the complexities of group behavior and create spaces where individuals can thrive together without losing their sense of self. In this way, Stoicism offers not just a critique of group behavior, but a path to more harmonious and ethical collective action. As we leave behind the unsettling dynamics of group behavior, we now dive deeper into an even more personal and threatening reality: human manipulation. This form of influence is more calculated, more deliberate, and often more hidden than the sweeping forces of groupthink. The power of manipulation lies in its subtlety. It seeps into our decisions, our emotions, and our perceptions without us even realizing it. Yet, Stoicism offers a way to stay grounded, to maintain clarity and self-awareness when faced with those who seek to control us for their own ends. Human manipulation is everywhere. It can come from the people we trust, from those we barely know, or from systems designed to exploit our vulnerabilities. The manipulator's goal is to twist our perception of reality, to plant seeds of doubt, and to lead us toward actions that benefit them more than they benefit us. Stoicism teaches us that the first step in defending against manipulation is recognizing its existence. By cultivating an alert mind and practicing self-reflection, we become more attuned to the signs that someone may be trying to steer us in a direction we would not choose for ourselves. Stoicism encourages us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our emotions, and our responses. When faced with manipulation, this teaching becomes a powerful shield. Manipulators often prey on our insecurities, seeking to exploit our fears, desires, or need for approval. By staying grounded in our own sense of self-worth and focusing on our inner stability, we become less vulnerable to the tactics of those who wish to manipulate us. The more we detach from the need for external validation, the harder it becomes for someone to use those desires against us. One of the most common ways people are manipulated is through emotional triggers. Manipulators know that when they can provoke a strong emotional reaction, whether it's fear, guilt, or excitement, they can cloud our judgment. Stoicism teaches emotional mastery, the ability to observe our emotions without being controlled by them. This practice allows us to pause and reflect before reacting, giving us the clarity to see through attempts to manipulate our feelings. By keeping our emotions in check, we can respond thoughtfully rather than being swept up in the manipulator's agenda. Another tactic manipulators use is flattery. By appealing to our ego, they create a sense of obligation or loyalty that makes us more likely to do their bidding. The Stoics warned against being swayed by praise, teaching that true self-worth comes from within, not from the approval of others. When we build our confidence on a foundation of internal values rather than external compliments, we become less susceptible to the manipulator's charm. Stoicism reminds us that flattery, when used as a tool of manipulation, is hollow and should be recognized for what it is: a trap. Manipulation often plays on our fears. Whether it's the fear of failure, rejection, or loss, manipulators know how to exploit these deep-seated anxieties to push us toward decisions we might not otherwise make. The Stoics taught that fear is a product of our attachment to things outside our control. By practicing detachment from outcomes and focusing on what we can influence, our actions, our attitudes, our efforts, we reduce the power that fear has over us. In doing so, we become less vulnerable to the manipulator's attempts to use our fears against us. Manipulators also create a sense of urgency to pressure us into making quick decisions without thinking them through. This tactic works because when we feel rushed, we are less likely to question the situation or consider alternative perspectives. Stoicism teaches the value of patience and reflection. By refusing to be rushed into decisions, we give ourselves the space to think critically and weigh our options carefully. This deliberate approach makes it much harder for a manipulator to push us into action before we are ready. Another form of manipulation involves creating doubt. Manipulators often try to make us question our own perceptions, memories, or beliefs, leading us to rely more on their version of reality. This tactic, known as gaslighting, is designed to erode our confidence in our own judgment. Stoicism teaches the importance of self-trust and critical thinking. By staying grounded in our own reasoning and reflecting regularly on our thoughts and actions, we build a strong foundation of self-awareness that is difficult to shake. When we trust ourselves, we are less likely to be swayed by someone else's distorted narrative. Manipulation can also come in the form of guilt. Manipulators may try to make us feel responsible for their problems or for the consequences of not following their lead. They use guilt to bend our will, making us feel as though we owe them something. The Stoics emphasized the importance of understanding what is truly within our responsibility and what is not. By recognizing that we are not responsible for other people's actions or emotions, we free ourselves from the manipulator's guilt traps. We can offer kindness and support without feeling obligated to sacrifice our own well-being for someone else's agenda. Another subtle form of manipulation involves creating a sense of dependency. Manipulators may try to make us feel as though we cannot succeed or make decisions without their guidance. This tactic fosters a sense of helplessness, making us more likely to follow their lead. Stoicism teaches self-reliance and resilience, reminding us that we have the inner resources to navigate life's challenges on our own. By cultivating confidence in our own abilities, we can resist the manipulators' attempts to make us feel dependent on them. Manipulators also use deception to achieve their goals, presenting false information or omitting key details to influence our decisions. Stoicism teaches the value of seeking truth and clarity in all things. By questioning what we are told and looking deeper than surface appearances, we can see through lies and distortions. This habit of critical thinking protects us from being led astray by those who seek to deceive us for their own gain. Another common manipulation tactic is creating confusion. Manipulators often bombard us with conflicting information or complex scenarios, making it difficult to see a clear path forward. This confusion weakens our resolve, making us more likely to rely on the manipulator's guidance. Stoicism teaches the importance of simplicity and focus. By clearing away distractions and focusing on what truly matters, we can cut through the noise and make decisions based on reason and clarity. This practice makes it much harder for a manipulator to cloud our judgment. Manipulation can also involve appealing to our sense of duty. Manipulators may frame their requests in a way that makes us feel as though we are obligated to help them, even when doing so is not in our best interest. Stoicism teaches the importance of setting healthy boundaries and recognizing when it is appropriate to say no. By being clear about our own limits and responsibilities, we can resist the pressure to take on obligations that do not serve us. Some manipulators use isolation as a tactic, separating us from sources of support and guidance to make us more reliant on them. Stoicism teaches the value of community and connection. By maintaining strong relationships with others and seeking wisdom from a variety of sources, we can avoid becoming isolated and vulnerable to manipulation. A strong network of support helps us stay grounded and provides valuable perspective when we are faced with difficult decisions. Manipulators also exploit our desire for certainty. They may present themselves as having all the answers, offering clear solutions in a complex and uncertain world. This false sense of certainty can lead us to place our trust in them without fully questioning their motives. Stoicism teaches us to embrace uncertainty and to seek wisdom through careful reflection rather than quick answers. By accepting that not all questions have easy solutions, we can avoid falling for the manipulator's promise of certainty. Another way manipulators work is by playing on our insecurities. They may subtly undermine our confidence or highlight our perceived weaknesses, making us more dependent on their approval or guidance. The Stoics believed in cultivating inner strength and self-acceptance. By acknowledging our imperfections and embracing our humanity, we become less susceptible to the manipulator's attempts to exploit our insecurities. When we are at peace with ourselves, we are far less likely to seek validation from those who seek to control us. Manipulation can also take the form of creating false dilemmas. Manipulators may present us with a limited set of options, framing the situation in a way that makes us feel as though we have no choice but to follow their lead. Stoicism teaches us to see beyond false dichotomies and to think creatively about the choices available to us. By expanding our perspective and considering alternative solutions, we can break free from the manipulator's narrow framing and make decisions that align with our true values. Another manipulation tactic involves using selective information. Manipulators may present only the facts that support their position while withholding information that would lead us to a different conclusion. Stoicism teaches the importance of seeking a full and balanced understanding of any situation. By actively seeking out different viewpoints and questioning what we are told, we can avoid being misled by incomplete information. This practice of thorough inquiry helps us make more informed decisions and protects us from manipulation. Some manipulators use the tactic of shifting blame. When things go wrong, they deflect responsibility onto others, making it seem as though we are at fault for the consequences of their actions. Stoicism teaches personal accountability and the importance of recognizing what is and is not within our control. By being clear about our own role in any situation, we can resist the manipulator's attempts to shift blame onto us. We can take responsibility for our own actions without accepting guilt for things that are not our fault. Manipulation can also involve exploiting our need for harmony. Manipulators may create conflict or tension and then present themselves as the solution to restore peace, leading us to follow their lead in order to avoid further discord. Stoicism teaches the value of inner peace and emotional resilience. By cultivating a sense of calm within ourselves, we become less reactive to external conflict and less likely to be swayed by those who create chaos to manipulate us. Another tactic used by manipulators is to overpromise. They may make grand promises about what they can deliver, knowing that these promises are unlikely to be fulfilled. This tactic creates a sense of anticipation and loyalty as we wait for the promised outcomes. Stoicism teaches us to remain grounded in the present and to be wary of placing too much hope in future outcomes. By focusing on what we can control in the here and now, we can avoid being misled by false promises and make decisions based on reality, not wishful thinking. Some manipulators use the tactic of divide and conquer. They create divisions between individuals or groups, fostering mistrust and competition in order to maintain control. Stoicism teaches the importance of unity and collaboration. By fostering a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect, we can resist efforts to divide us and create a stronger, more resilient community. When we stand together, it becomes much harder for manipulators to isolate and control us. Manipulators may also use the tactic of guilt by association, trying to discredit us by linking us to negative people or situations, even if the connection is tenuous. This tactic is designed to undermine our credibility and isolate us from potential allies. Stoicism teaches us to remain confident in our own character and to judge ourselves by our actions, not by the opinions of others. By staying true to our values, we can resist attempts to tarnish our reputation through association. Finally, the Stoics remind us that the ultimate defense against manipulation is self-awareness. By knowing ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, our values, we can remain grounded in the face of external pressures. Manipulation works by exploiting our blind spots, our fears, and our desires. But when we are clear about who we are and what we stand for, these tactics lose their power. Stoicism offers us the tools to cultivate this clarity, to stay connected to our inner wisdom, and to navigate the complexities of human manipulation with grace and resilience. As we've explored the power of manipulation and how Stoicism helps us stay grounded in its face, another force quietly shapes our thoughts and actions: psychological biases. These hidden biases influence our decisions in ways we often don't recognize. While manipulation is typically external, biases arise from within, distorting our view of the world and leading us to choices that may not align with reason or our best interests. Stoicism, with its focus on self-awareness and rationality, offers profound insights into how we can recognize and counteract these biases that subtly control our lives. One of the most pervasive biases that controls decision-making is confirmation bias. This is the tendency to seek out and give weight to information that confirms what we already believe, while dismissing or ignoring evidence that contradicts it. In a world full of opinions and conflicting viewpoints, confirmation bias can trap us in an echo chamber, reinforcing our existing ideas and preventing growth. Stoicism teaches the importance of truth-seeking and critical thinking. By approaching situations with a willingness to question our assumptions and challenge our beliefs, we can break free from the narrow thinking that confirmation bias creates. Another hidden bias is the anchoring effect, where we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, even when more relevant facts come to light later. This initial anchor becomes the reference point for all subsequent decisions, skewing our judgment. Stoicism encourages us to be flexible and open to new information. By practicing detachment from initial impressions and taking the time to consider all available evidence, we can avoid being anchored by early and sometimes misleading information. The availability heuristic is another bias that distorts our decision-making. This bias leads us to overestimate the likelihood of events that are more easily recalled from memory, usually because they are recent or emotionally charged. For example, after hearing about a plane crash, people may irrationally fear flying, even though statistically, air travel remains one of the safest modes of transportation. Stoicism reminds us to view situations rationally, based on evidence and reason rather than fear or vivid memories. By grounding ourselves in facts rather than emotion-laden recollections, we can make clearer, more rational decisions. The sunk cost fallacy is another psychological bias that often traps people. This bias makes us continue investing in something, whether time, money, or effort, simply because we've already put so much into it, even when it no longer makes sense to do so. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control and to make decisions based on the present moment, not on past investments. By recognizing when a path is no longer serving us and having the courage to let go, we free ourselves from the sunk cost fallacy and open up new opportunities for growth and success. One of the more dangerous biases is the halo effect, where our overall impression of a person influences how we perceive their specific traits. If we see someone as likable or attractive, we may assume they are also intelligent, trustworthy, or competent, even without evidence to support these assumptions. Stoicism teaches us to look beyond appearances and to assess people and situations based on their true merits, not on superficial qualities. By cultivating a more objective perspective, we can avoid being misled by the halo effect and make more balanced judgments. Another common bias is in-group bias, which leads us to favor people who are like us, whether by background, belief, or appearance, over those who are different. This bias can lead to exclusion, discrimination, and poor decision-making in group settings. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of recognizing our shared humanity and treating all people with fairness and respect, regardless of differences. By challenging in-group bias, we foster greater compassion and make decisions that are more inclusive and just. The optimism bias is another subtle force that shapes our decisions. This bias leads people to believe that they are less likely to experience negative outcomes compared to others, which can result in risky behavior or unrealistic expectations. Stoicism teaches the importance of preparing for life's challenges and not assuming that things will always turn out in our favor. By embracing a more balanced perspective, one that recognizes both opportunities and risks, we can make wiser, more thoughtful decisions that account for all possible outcomes. Another hidden bias is the bandwagon effect, where people are influenced to make decisions or adopt beliefs simply because many others are doing the same. This herd mentality can lead to the abandonment of critical thinking as the desire to conform outweighs individual judgment. Stoicism encourages us to think independently and not be swayed by the opinions or actions of the majority. By standing firm in our own reasoned convictions, we can resist the pressure to follow the crowd and make choices that align with our values. Framing bias is another psychological trap that can distort our thinking. The way information is presented, whether positively or negatively, can greatly influence our decisions, even when the underlying facts are the same. For example, people are more likely to support a medical treatment that has a 90% survival rate than one described as having a 10% death rate, even though both statements are mathematically equivalent. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the essence of things, stripping away emotional or manipulative language to see the truth. By practicing this skill, we can see through framing biases and make decisions based on facts, not presentation. Another subtle bias is the status quo bias, which makes us prefer things to remain the way they are, even when change might be beneficial. This resistance to change can prevent us from making decisions that lead to growth and improvement. Stoicism teaches the importance of embracing change and being adaptable. By recognizing that change is a natural part of life, we can overcome the inertia of the status quo bias and make decisions that lead to progress rather than clinging to comfort or familiarity. Hindsight bias is another force that skews our thinking. This bias leads us to believe, after an event has occurred, that we knew it all along, when in fact we could not have predicted the outcome. This can distort our perception of our decision-making process, making us overconfident in our ability to foresee the future. Stoicism teaches the value of humility and the recognition that we cannot control or predict everything. By acknowledging the limits of our foresight, we can approach future decisions with more care and less overconfidence. Another bias that controls people's decisions is the self-serving bias, where individuals attribute their successes to their own abilities but blame external factors for their failures. This distortion prevents honest self-reflection and personal growth. Stoicism encourages us to take full responsibility for our actions and to reflect on both successes and failures with humility and objectivity. By doing so, we can learn from our experiences and make better decisions moving forward. The endowment effect is another bias that often influences our choices. This bias causes us to overvalue things simply because we own them, leading us to hold on to possessions or ideas long after they've ceased to serve us. Stoicism teaches us to practice non-attachment, recognizing that our worth is not tied to our belongings or past ideas. By letting go of the endowment effect, we can make clearer, more rational decisions about what truly adds value to our lives. Another bias that can cloud our judgment is the overconfidence bias. This leads people to overestimate their abilities or knowledge, resulting in risky decisions or poor planning. Stoicism teaches the importance of self-awareness and humility, reminding us that wisdom comes from understanding our limitations. By tempering our confidence with a realistic understanding of our capabilities, we can make more thoughtful and balanced decisions. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a related bias where individuals with low ability or knowledge overestimate their competence, while those with high ability often underestimate themselves. This can lead to poor decision-making by those who lack the necessary skills, while those who are capable may hold back out of self-doubt. Stoicism encourages us to seek wisdom and self-improvement while being mindful of our limitations. By continually learning and reflecting on our abilities, we can avoid the extremes of overconfidence and self-doubt. Another hidden bias is the fundamental attribution error, where we attribute other people's behavior to their character while attributing our own behavior to external circumstances. For example, if someone cuts us off in traffic, we may assume they are rude. But if we cut someone off, we blame the heavy traffic or a bad day. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate empathy and recognize that we cannot know what others are going through. By challenging the fundamental attribution error, we can approach others with greater understanding and patience. The escalation of commitment is another bias that affects decision-making. This occurs when people continue to invest in a failing course of action because they have already invested so much, leading them to throw good money after bad. Stoicism teaches us to detach from past investments and to focus on what is best in the present moment. By recognizing when it's time to cut our losses and move on, we can avoid the trap of escalating commitment. Another subtle bias is the hindsight bias, where we believe that an event was predictable only after it has happened. This false sense of predictability can lead us to overestimate our ability to foresee future events and make decisions based on faulty logic. Stoicism teaches us to approach life with humility, understanding that we cannot predict or control the future. By accepting uncertainty and focusing on what we can control, we make decisions with greater clarity and wisdom. Loss aversion is another powerful bias that affects our decisions. People tend to fear losses more than they value gains, leading to overly conservative choices that prevent growth or progress. Stoicism encourages us to embrace risk with a balanced mindset, recognizing that loss is a natural part of life. By letting go of the fear of loss, we can make decisions that are driven by reason and opportunity, rather than by the desire to avoid discomfort. Another hidden bias is the blind spot bias, where people are more likely to recognize biases in others while failing to see their own. This creates a false sense of objectivity and can lead to poor decisions based on the belief that we are immune to bias. Stoicism teaches the importance of self-reflection and the acknowledgement of our own imperfections. By regularly examining our thoughts and actions for biases, we can make more honest and rational decisions. The placebo effect is another bias that influences decision-making, where the belief in a treatment's effectiveness can actually produce real results, even when the treatment itself is inert. This demonstrates the power of belief over reality and how our perceptions can shape our experiences. Stoicism teaches us to align our beliefs with truth and reason rather than illusion. By seeking evidence and grounding our beliefs in reality, we can avoid the distortions created by the placebo effect and make choices that lead to real growth and progress. Another bias is the gambler's fallacy, which leads people to believe that future probabilities are influenced by past events, even when they are independent. This can lead to poor decision-making, such as continuing to gamble after a string of losses, believing that a win is due. Stoicism reminds us to stay rooted in reality and to recognize when our decisions are being influenced by faulty reasoning. By accepting the randomness of life and making decisions based on logic rather than superstition, we can avoid the gambler's fallacy and make more rational choices. The mere exposure effect is another subtle bias, where people tend to develop a preference for things simply because they are familiar with them. This can lead to decisions based on comfort and familiarity rather than merit. Stoicism teaches us to challenge our preferences and to seek out what is truly beneficial, even if it is unfamiliar or uncomfortable. By stepping outside of our comfort zone, we can make decisions that lead to growth and improvement rather than staying stuck in the familiar. Another hidden bias is the illusion of control, where people overestimate their ability to control events, leading to decisions based on unrealistic expectations. Stoicism teaches us to recognize the limits of our control and to focus only on what we can influence. our own actions and attitudes. By letting go of the illusion of control, we can make decisions that are grounded in reality, allowing us to navigate life's uncertainties with wisdom and grace. The ostrich effect is another bias, where people avoid information that they perceive as negative or threatening, hoping that ignoring it will make it go away. This can lead to poor decisions, as crucial information is overlooked or avoided. Stoicism teaches us to face reality head-on, even when it is uncomfortable or difficult. By seeking out the truth and accepting the challenges that come our way, we can make decisions based on a clear understanding of the situation, rather than burying our heads in the sand. Finally, the Stoics believed that the key to overcoming all these biases is self-awareness. By cultivating mindfulness, regularly reflecting on our thoughts and actions, and questioning our assumptions, we can begin to see through the hidden biases that control our decisions. Stoicism teaches that while we may never completely rid ourselves of biases, we can strive to make decisions with clarity, reason, and integrity by continually examining our minds and remaining open to growth. Having uncovered the hidden psychological biases that control our decisions, we now move into the world of persuasion, where external forces shape our thoughts and actions in more overt ways. Persuasion can be a powerful tool for good or for harm, and its influence is pervasive, woven into the words we hear, the media we consume, and the interactions we have with others. But Stoicism teaches us to approach persuasion with caution, to be vigilant about how easily we can be swayed by skilled rhetoric or emotional appeals. The subtle art of persuasion can lead us to act against our own best interests if we are not grounded in awareness and wisdom. The power of persuasion lies in its ability to bypass our rational mind and tap directly into our emotions. Skilled persuaders know how to evoke feelings of excitement, fear, or urgency, pushing us to make decisions quickly without fully considering the consequences. Stoicism teaches us to master our emotions and not allow them to dictate our actions. By cultivating emotional resilience, we can create a buffer between persuasive tactics and our own decision-making process. This helps us maintain clarity, even when someone is trying to push us toward a particular choice. Persuasion often works by appealing to our desires and insecurities. Advertisers, politicians, and even friends may try to convince us that we need something, a product, a lifestyle, or a belief, by playing on our fears of inadequacy or our hopes for a better life. Stoicism teaches us that true contentment comes from within, not from external achievements or possessions. When we are secure in our own self-worth, we are less likely to be swayed by those who try to sell us happiness in the form of material goods or fleeting experiences. Another key element of persuasion is the use of authority. People are more likely to be persuaded by someone they perceive as an expert or a figure of authority, even when that person's expertise is irrelevant to the situation at hand. This is why endorsements from celebrities or trusted figures can be so effective in influencing decisions. Stoicism encourages us to think critically and not to be blinded by authority figures. By questioning the source of persuasion and seeking out our own understanding, we can avoid being misled by the mere presence of power or status. Flattery is another powerful tool of persuasion. When someone praises us or makes us feel special, we are more likely to trust them and be open to their influence. But flattery is often used as a means to an end, manipulating us into actions that benefit the persuader more than ourselves. Stoicism teaches us to be wary of flattery, recognizing that our worth is not dependent on the approval of others. By grounding ourselves in self-respect, we can see through the superficial charm of flattery and make decisions based on reason rather than the desire for praise. One of the most dangerous aspects of persuasion is its ability to create a sense of urgency. Persuaders often pressure us to act quickly using phrases like limited time offer or act now before it's too late. This tactic works because it taps into our fear of missing out or losing an opportunity. Stoicism teaches the importance of patience and thoughtful deliberation. By refusing to be rushed into decisions, we can take the time to consider all options and make choices that align with our long-term values rather than short-term impulses. Persuasion also relies heavily on the principle of reciprocity. When someone does us a favor or gives us something, we feel a psychological obligation to return the gesture, even if the original act was done with the intention of manipulating us. This is often seen in marketing strategies where companies offer free samples or gifts in hopes that consumers will feel compelled to make a purchase. Stoicism teaches us to act with integrity and not allow ourselves to be manipulated by feelings of obligation. By being aware of this tactic, we can make decisions based on merit, not on a sense of indebtedness. The bandwagon effect is another persuasive technique that capitalizes on our desire to belong. When we see that many others are following a certain trend or adopting a particular belief, we may feel compelled to do the same, even if it goes against our own judgment. Stoicism encourages independent thinking and the courage to stand apart from the crowd when necessary. By remaining true to our own principles, we can resist the pressure to conform simply because everyone else is doing it. Scarcity is another tactic used to persuade people. When something is presented as being in limited supply or available for a short time, we tend to place a higher value on it, even if its actual worth is not significant. This fear of scarcity drives us to make impulsive decisions. Stoicism teaches us to view the world with a sense of abundance and not be swayed by the illusion of lack. By recognizing that our well-being does not depend on acquiring fleeting opportunities, we can make decisions based on reason rather than fear of missing out. The power of storytelling is often used as a persuasive tool. People are naturally drawn to narratives, and a well-told story can evoke strong emotions and shape our perception of reality. Persuaders use stories to create connections, influence opinions, and inspire action. While storytelling can be a force for good, it can also be used to distort the truth or manipulate our emotions. Stoicism encourages us to seek truth and clarity in all things. By being aware of the emotional pull of stories, we can separate fact from fiction and make decisions based on objective reality. Another form of persuasion is the appeal to fear. This tactic involves presenting a situation in such a way that it evokes fear in the audience, often exaggerating the potential negative outcomes. Fear is a powerful motivator, and when we are afraid, we are more likely to act impulsively or accept solutions that we wouldn't otherwise consider. Stoicism teaches us to confront fear with courage and reason. By recognizing when fear is being used as a persuasive tool, we can step back, assess the situation calmly, and make decisions based on logic rather than anxiety. Social proof is another persuasive tactic that relies on the behavior of others to influence our own. When we see that a large number of people have endorsed a product or idea, we may be more likely to do the same, believing that the majority must be right. Stoicism teaches us to value wisdom over popularity. Just because something is widely accepted does not mean it is inherently good or true. By relying on our own judgment and reason, we can resist the pull of social proof and make decisions that reflect our own values. One of the most subtle forms of persuasion is the appeal to identity. Persuaders often frame their arguments in terms of what kind of person we want to be, suggesting that adopting a certain belief or making a particular choice is a reflection of our character. This tactic works because people are motivated by a desire to maintain a positive self-image. Stoicism teaches us to be true to ourselves and not allow external forces to define our identity. By staying connected to our core values, we can resist attempts to manipulate our self-perception. Another powerful tool of persuasion is repetition. When we hear something repeatedly, we are more likely to believe it, even if it is not true. This tactic is commonly used in advertising, politics, and media to shape public opinion. Stoicism encourages us to question what we hear and not accept information blindly, no matter how often it is repeated. By practicing critical thinking and seeking out diverse perspectives, we can protect ourselves from the persuasive effects of repetition. The use of emotions, particularly empathy, is another effective persuasive technique. Persuaders may appeal to our sense of compassion, using stories or imagery that evoke strong feelings of empathy for others. While empathy is a positive and necessary emotion, it can also be used to manipulate us into making decisions that are not in our best interest. Stoicism teaches the importance of balancing emotion with reason. By practicing empathy in a way that is grounded in wisdom, we can ensure that our decisions are both compassionate and rational. Another tactic used in persuasion is the contrast effect, where persuaders present two options side by side, making one seem more desirable in comparison to the other. This technique can distort our perception of value, leading us to choose an option simply because it seems better than the alternative, rather than because it is the best choice overall. Stoicism teaches us to evaluate each option on its own merits, rather than in relation to others. By maintaining a clear sense of what truly matters, we can avoid being swayed by false comparisons. The framing effect is another way persuasion shapes our decisions. The way information is presented can significantly influence how we interpret it, even when the underlying facts remain the same. For example, people are more likely to support a policy described as benefiting 90% of people rather than one described as failing 10%, even though both statements convey the same information. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the essence of things, stripping away the emotional or manipulative framing to see the truth. By practicing this clarity of thought, we can resist the framing effect and make decisions based on objective reality. Persuasion also taps into our need for closure. When faced with uncertainty or ambiguity, people often seek quick resolutions, even if those resolutions are not in their best interest. Persuaders may present simple, clear answers to complex problems, appealing to our desire for certainty. Stoicism teaches us to embrace uncertainty and not rush to conclusions. By taking the time to fully understand a situation and consider all options, we can make decisions that are thoughtful and well-informed, rather than being driven by the need for closure. Another powerful tool of persuasion is the use of scarcity. When something is presented as rare or in limited supply, we tend to place a higher value on it, even if it is not inherently valuable. This scarcity effect can drive us to make impulsive decisions, fearing that we will miss out on an opportunity. Stoicism reminds us that true value comes from within, not from external possessions or opportunities. By cultivating a sense of inner abundance, we can resist the pressure of scarcity and make decisions based on reason, not fear of missing out. Persuasion often works by appealing to our desire for consistency. Once we have made a commitment or taken a position, we are more likely to stick with it, even when new information suggests that we should reconsider. This commitment bias can lead us to make decisions that are no longer in our best interest, simply to maintain the appearance of consistency. Stoicism teaches us to be flexible and open to change. By recognizing when it is time to adjust our course, we can avoid being trapped by past commitments and make decisions that reflect our current values and understanding. Another tactic used in persuasion is the appeal to emotion. Persuaders may use emotionally charged language or imagery to evoke strong feelings, hoping that these emotions will cloud our judgment. This tactic can be particularly effective in situations where rational argument alone might not be persuasive. Stoicism teaches us to remain calm and centered in the face of emotional appeals, allowing us to evaluate the situation with a clear mind. By practicing emotional detachment, we can ensure that our decisions are based on reason rather than being driven by emotional manipulation. Persuasion often involves the use of selective information. Persuaders may present only the facts that support their argument while omitting or downplaying information that contradicts it. This tactic can lead us to make decisions based on incomplete or biased information. Stoicism teaches us to seek out the full truth, questioning what we are told and looking for evidence that challenges our assumptions. By doing so, we can make decisions that are based on a comprehensive understanding of the situation rather than being swayed by selective information. Another form of persuasion is the appeal to tradition, where persuaders argue that something should be accepted simply because it has always been done that way. This tactic can prevent us from questioning outdated or harmful practices, leading us to make decisions based on habit rather than reason. Stoicism encourages us to challenge tradition when it no longer serves us, seeking wisdom and progress rather than clinging to the past. By remaining open to change, we can make decisions that are aligned with our current values and understanding, rather than being constrained by tradition. Stoicism teaches us to approach persuasion with caution and awareness. The tactics used to influence our decisions can be subtler, playing on our emotions, desires, and insecurities in ways that we may not immediately recognize. But by cultivating self-awareness, emotional resilience, and critical thinking, we can see through these tactics and make decisions that are grounded in reason and aligned with our true values. Stoicism offers a path to inner clarity, helping us navigate the complex world of persuasion without losing sight of what truly matters. Leaving behind the deceptive power of persuasion, we now venture into an even more unsettling truth: how emotions control human actions. Emotions, with all their intensity, shape our decisions and behaviors far more than we may care to admit. They have the power to override logic and cloud our judgment, often leading us down paths we wouldn't consciously choose. But Stoicism provides us with tools to navigate this emotional chaos, offering a path to master our inner world rather than be mastered by it. The influence of emotions on our actions is a reality we must face if we are to live with clarity and purpose. Emotions can distort our perception of reality. When gripped by fear, we might see threats where none exist, while anger can make us interpret neutral events as personal attacks. These emotional reactions can cause us to make decisions that are irrational and out of proportion to the situation. Stoicism teaches that by observing our emotions without immediately reacting to them, we can regain control over how we interpret and respond to events. This detachment from the immediacy of emotion allows for clearer thinking and more deliberate actions. Anger, in particular, is a powerful emotion that often leads to regrettable actions. When anger takes hold, it can drive us to say or do things that harm others and ourselves. It clouds our judgment and narrows our focus, making us blind to the broader consequences of our actions. The Stoics viewed anger as a destructive force that must be managed through reason and self-control. By recognizing the fleeting nature of anger and refusing to act impulsively in its grip, we can avoid the damage it often causes and make more thoughtful decisions. Fear is another emotion that frequently overrides reason. When we are afraid, our instincts push us towards self-preservation, often at the cost of rational thinking. Fear can make us retreat from opportunities, avoid difficult conversations, or take unnecessary risks in the hopes of escaping perceived dangers. Stoicism teaches us to confront fear with courage, recognizing that many of the things we fear are beyond our control. By focusing on what we can influence and accepting the uncertainties of life, we can diminish the power that fear holds over our actions. Desire, too, plays a significant role in shaping human behavior. The longing for wealth, status, or approval can drive people to make choices that are at odds with their values or long-term well-being. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes not from external rewards, but from inner contentment and virtue. By cultivating indifference to the fleeting pleasures that desire seeks, we can make decisions based on what is truly meaningful rather than being led astray by short-term gratification. One of the most insidious ways emotions control our actions is through guilt. Guilt can weigh heavily on us, leading us to make decisions based on a desire to alleviate that emotional burden rather than on what is right or rational. Stoicism teaches us to take responsibility for our actions, but not to dwell on mistakes or allow guilt to dictate our behavior. By learning from our past without becoming enslaved by it, we can move forward with clarity and purpose, free from the emotional chains of guilt. Emotions can also lead to overreaction. A minor inconvenience can trigger feelings of frustration that spiral into unnecessary conflict or stress. Stoicism encourages us to keep a sense of proportion in all things, reminding us that most events are not as catastrophic as they seem in the heat of the moment. By cultivating a calm and balanced perspective, we can prevent emotions from escalating situations and maintain control over how we respond. Another way emotions control human actions is through attachment. We often become emotionally attached to people, possessions, or ideas, and this attachment can make us act irrationally when faced with the possibility of losing them. Stoicism teaches the practice of detachment, reminding us that everything in life is temporary and beyond our control. By accepting the impermanence of all things, we can avoid the emotional turmoil that comes with attachment and make decisions based on reason rather than fear of loss. Jealousy is an emotion that can lead to destructive behavior. When we compare ourselves to others and feel envious of their success or happiness, it can drive us to act out of spite or to undermine our own sense of self-worth. Stoicism teaches that the only life we should focus on is our own. By letting go of comparisons and focusing on our personal growth, we can free ourselves from the corrosive effects of jealousy and make choices that reflect our own values and goals. Pride, too, can control our actions in subtle but powerful ways. It can lead us to make decisions based on a desire to protect our ego or to avoid appearing weak or vulnerable. This can prevent us from admitting mistakes, asking for help, or making changes that are necessary for growth. Stoicism teaches the value of humility, reminding us that true strength comes from recognizing our limitations and being open to learning from others. By setting aside pride, we can make decisions that are grounded in wisdom rather than in the need to protect our image. Emotions like regret can also hold us back. When we dwell on past mistakes or missed opportunities, it can prevent us from moving forward and making positive changes. Stoicism encourages us to focus on the present moment, recognizing that the past is beyond our control and that the only thing we can influence is how we act now. By letting go of regret and focusing on what we can do today, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of the past and open ourselves to new possibilities. Love is another emotion that, while beautiful, can sometimes lead to irrational actions. The desire to protect or please those we care about can cause us to make sacrifices that are not always in our best interest, or to act out of fear of losing their affection. Stoicism teaches that love should be guided by wisdom and mutual respect, rather than fear or neediness. By cultivating a balanced and healthy approach to love, we can avoid the emotional traps that lead to unwise decisions and build relationships that are based on mutual growth and understanding. Happiness, though generally seen as a positive emotion, can also influence our actions in unexpected ways. The pursuit of happiness can become an obsession, leading us to make choices that prioritize short-term pleasure over long-term fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that true happiness is not found in external circumstances, but in living a life of virtue and wisdom. By shifting our focus from the pursuit of pleasure to the cultivation of inner peace and purpose, we can make decisions that lead to deeper and more lasting happiness. On the opposite end of the spectrum, sadness can cloud our judgment and lead to a sense of hopelessness. When we are overwhelmed by sadness, it can be difficult to see beyond the immediate pain, leading us to make choices that reflect our emotional state rather than our rational understanding of the situation. Stoicism teaches that sadness, like all emotions, is temporary, and that we can find strength in accepting it without letting it control us. By practicing resilience in the face of sadness, we can make decisions that are based on reason and not driven by emotional despair. Gratitude is an emotion that can positively influence our actions when cultivated mindfully. However, when gratitude becomes a form of obligation or indebtedness, it can lead us to make decisions out of a sense of duty rather than free will. Stoicism teaches us to practice gratitude in a way that is genuine and not tied to expectations or external pressures. By cultivating gratitude as an inner state of appreciation, we can make decisions that are motivated by kindness and wisdom rather than obligation. Excitement is another emotion that can influence our actions in both positive and negative ways. While excitement can motivate us to pursue new opportunities, it can also lead to impulsive decisions that we later regret. Stoicism teaches the importance of balance and moderation, reminding us that even positive emotions should be tempered by reason. By approaching excitement with a calm and measured mindset, we can make decisions that are both enthusiastic and thoughtful. Shame is an emotion that can control our actions in subtle and harmful ways. It can prevent us from being honest about our mistakes or seeking help when we need it, leading us to act out of a desire to hide our perceived flaws. Stoicism teaches that shame is often rooted in unrealistic expectations or societal pressures, and that true growth comes from accepting ourselves as we are, flaws and all. By letting go of shame and embracing self-compassion, we can make decisions that are based on honesty and self-respect rather than fear of judgment. One of the most powerful emotions that controls human actions is love for power. The desire for control over others or over situations can lead to manipulative or unethical behavior. Stoicism teaches that true power lies in self-mastery, not in dominating others. By focusing on controlling our own thoughts and actions rather than seeking control over external circumstances, we can avoid the destructive influence of the desire for power and make decisions that are aligned with our values. Anxiety is another emotion that often controls human behavior. When we are anxious, we tend to overthink, anticipate the worst, and make decisions based on fear rather than reality. Stoicism teaches that anxiety comes from worrying about things beyond our control, and that peace comes from focusing on what we can influence. By practicing acceptance of uncertainty and trusting in our ability to handle whatever comes our way, we can reduce the influence of anxiety on our actions and make decisions that are grounded in calm and confidence. Emotions like disappointment can also steer our decisions in unhealthy directions. When we are disappointed by an outcome, we may act out of frustration or resentment, leading us to make impulsive choices that don't serve us in the long run. Stoicism teaches that disappointment is a natural part of life, but that it should not define our response. By accepting that not everything will go as planned and focusing on how we can adapt and grow from the experience, we can make decisions that reflect resilience rather than reactionary emotions. Resentment is another emotion that can control our actions if left unchecked. It can lead to grudges, passive-aggressive behavior, or a desire for revenge, all of which are harmful to ourselves and others. Stoicism teaches the importance of forgiveness and letting go of past hurts. By freeing ourselves from the emotional weight of resentment, we can make decisions that are based on compassion and understanding rather than bitterness. Curiosity is an emotion that, when guided by wisdom, can lead to growth and discovery. However, unchecked curiosity can sometimes lead us to make decisions that are driven by a desire for novelty or excitement rather than thoughtful consideration. Stoicism teaches that curiosity should be tempered by a sense of purpose and direction. By aligning our curiosity with our deeper values, we can make decisions that lead to meaningful exploration and learning rather than aimless pursuit of the new. Empathy is a powerful emotion that connects us to others, but it can also lead us to make decisions that prioritize others' needs at the expense of our own well-being. Stoicism teaches that empathy should be balanced with wisdom, allowing us to care for others without losing ourselves in the process. By practicing compassionate detachment, we can make decisions that are both kind and wise, helping others while staying true to our own values and boundaries. Emotions like loyalty can also control our actions in ways that may not always serve us. While loyalty is a virtue, blind loyalty can lead us to make decisions that go against our principles or that enable harmful behavior in others. Stoicism teaches that loyalty should be rooted in mutual respect and aligned with our values. By practicing discernment in our loyalties, we can make decisions that honor both our relationships and our integrity. The emotion of nostalgia can influence our decisions by keeping us tied to the past. When we long for the way things used to be, we may resist change or make decisions that are based on an idealized version of history rather than the reality of the present. Stoicism teaches us to embrace the present moment and to accept change as a natural part of life. By letting go of nostalgia, we can make decisions that are forward-looking and grounded in the here and now. One of the most subtle ways emotions control our actions is through the desire for peace and harmony. While this desire is often positive, it can lead us to avoid necessary conflict or difficult decisions in order to maintain a false sense of calm. Stoicism teaches that true peace comes from within, and that avoiding conflict is not always the path to harmony. By facing challenges with courage and clarity, we can make decisions that lead to lasting peace rather than temporary avoidance. Emotions are a powerful force that shape human behavior in profound and often unnoticed ways. Whether it's anger, fear, desire, or love, these emotions can cloud our judgment and lead us to actions that do not serve our long-term well-being. But Stoicism offers a path to mastering our emotions, teaching us to observe them without being controlled by them. By cultivating emotional resilience and aligning our actions with reason and virtue, we can navigate the complex landscape of human emotions with wisdom and clarity, making decisions that reflect our highest selves. Having explored the unsettling power that emotions hold over our actions, it's time to shift focus to a remedy: stoic detachment. In a world filled with emotional turmoil, manipulation, and the unpredictability of human behavior, Stoic detachment serves as a protective shield, allowing us to maintain our inner peace and make rational decisions. It's not about indifference, but about finding clarity amidst chaos. This practice offers profound insights into how we can safeguard ourselves from the darker tendencies of human nature, ensuring we remain grounded, calm, and centered when others are driven by impulse and emotional extremes. Stoic detachment gives us the ability to rise above the petty conflicts and dramas that often consume people. When others are drawn into disputes or become embroiled in unnecessary arguments, detachment allows us to step back and see the situation for what it truly is: temporary, often insignificant, and not worthy of our energy. By refusing to engage with the emotional highs and lows of others, we protect our own peace and avoid being pulled into the negative spiral that so often accompanies human conflict. One of the key benefits of Stoic detachment is the ability to maintain perspective. When someone wrongs us or behaves in a way that we perceive as harmful, our natural reaction may be anger or retaliation. However, detachment enables us to step back and see the situation from a wider lens. Instead of reacting emotionally, we can assess the situation calmly, recognizing that the behavior of others is a reflection of their own internal struggles, not of our worth. This shift in perspective not only protects us from acting impulsively, but also frees us from carrying unnecessary emotional burdens. Stoic detachment also helps us to remain unaffected by the praise or criticism of others. Human behavior is often driven by a desire for external validation, but this can lead us down a dangerous path where we become overly dependent on the opinions of others. Detachment allows us to remain grounded in our own sense of self-worth, regardless of whether we are praised or criticized. By cultivating this inner stability, we become less vulnerable to manipulation and less likely to make decisions based on the approval or disapproval of others. In situations where manipulation is at play, detachment becomes a powerful defense. Manipulators thrive on emotional reactions, seeking to provoke, flatter, or intimidate in order to control our actions. By practicing detachment, we refuse to give them the emotional response they are looking for. Instead, we remain calm, collected, and in control of our own behavior. This not only frustrates the manipulator's efforts, but also protects us from being swayed by their tactics. Another way Stoic detachment protects us is by allowing us to let go of the need to control others. So much of human conflict arises from a desire to impose our will on those around us, whether through persuasion, coercion, or manipulation. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the behavior of others, only our own reactions. By accepting this fundamental truth, we free ourselves from the frustration and disappointment that comes with trying to change people who are unwilling or unable to change. This acceptance leads to a sense of inner peace and resilience, even when faced with difficult or challenging individuals. Detachment also helps us to navigate the complexities of human relationships. Relationships are often fraught with emotional entanglements, and it can be easy to lose ourselves in the expectations, demands, and needs of others. Stoic detachment allows us to maintain our own sense of identity and purpose, even within the context of close relationships. By recognizing that we are not responsible for the emotions or actions of others, we can engage with people in a healthier, more balanced way, free from the emotional codependence that so often characterizes unhealthy relationships. In moments of conflict, detachment enables us to remain level-headed and avoid escalating tensions. When emotions run high, people are often quick to react, saying or doing things that they later regret. Detachment allows us to take a step back, assess the situation objectively, and choose a response that is measured and thoughtful. This not only prevents unnecessary conflict, but also sets an example for others to follow, showing that it is possible to remain calm and composed even in the face of provocation. One of the most powerful ways Stoic detachment protects us is by helping us to let go of the past. So many people are weighed down by past grievances, mistakes, or regrets, allowing these memories to shape their present behavior. Detachment teaches us to release the emotional hold that the past has on us, recognizing that we cannot change what has already happened. By focusing on the present moment and what we can control, we free ourselves from the emotional baggage that so often clouds our judgment and influences our actions. Detachment also allows us to approach the future with a sense of calm and confidence. Human behavior is often driven by fear of the unknown, leading people to make decisions based on anxiety or a desire to avoid potential pain. Stoicism teaches us that the future is beyond our control, and that worrying about it only distracts us from what we can do in the present. By practicing detachment, we learn to accept the uncertainties of life without being paralyzed by fear. This allows us to make decisions with clarity and purpose, free from the emotional turbulence that so often accompanies thoughts of the future. Another important aspect of Stoic detachment is its ability to help us maintain emotional boundaries. In a world where people are constantly sharing their opinions, emotions, and problems, it can be easy to take on the emotional burdens of others. Detachment allows us to empathize with people without becoming overwhelmed by their emotions. By maintaining a healthy distance, we can offer support and understanding without losing ourselves in the emotional turmoil of those around us. Detachment also protects us from the dark side of ambition. While ambition can be a positive force, driving us to achieve our goals and improve ourselves, it can also lead to destructive behavior when it becomes an all-consuming obsession. Stoicism teaches us to pursue our goals with dedication, but without attachment to the outcome. By detaching from the need for success or recognition, we free ourselves from the fear of failure and the pressure to constantly prove ourselves. This allows us to work toward our goals with a sense of peace and purpose, rather than being driven by anxiety or a desire for external validation. One of the most liberating aspects of Stoic detachment is the freedom it gives us from the need to win. In a society that often values competition and victory above all else, it can be easy to become caught up in the pursuit of being the best, whether in our careers, relationships, or personal achievements. Detachment teaches us that true success is not about winning or losing, but about living in accordance with our values. By letting go of the need to always come out on top, we can approach life with a sense of balance and equanimity, making decisions based on what is right rather than what will bring us victory. Detachment also protects us from the harmful effects of envy. Envy is a destructive emotion that can lead to bitterness, resentment, and a constant sense of dissatisfaction. When we compare ourselves to others and feel envious of their success or happiness, we lose sight of our own unique path. Stoic detachment teaches us to focus on our own journey, recognizing that the success of others does not diminish our own worth or potential. By letting go of envy, we can make decisions that are rooted in self-awareness and contentment, rather than being driven by a desire to compete with others. Another way detachment protects us is by allowing us to navigate failure with grace. Failure is an inevitable part of life, but for many people, it can be a source of deep emotional pain and self-doubt. Stoicism teaches us that failure is not a reflection of our worth, but simply a part of the learning process. By detaching from the outcome of our efforts and focusing instead on the effort itself, we can approach failure with a sense of curiosity and resilience, learning from our mistakes without being weighed down by them. Detachment also helps us to navigate success in a healthy way. While success is often seen as the ultimate goal, it can also be a source of stress and pressure. People who achieve success may feel the need to constantly live up to their accomplishments or fear losing what they have gained. Stoic detachment teaches us to enjoy success without becoming attached to it. By recognizing that success, like all things in life, is temporary and beyond our control, we can celebrate our achievements without allowing them to define us. One of the most profound ways Stoic detachment protects us is by freeing us from the desire for revenge. When someone wrongs us, the natural human reaction is often to seek retribution, to even the score. However, this desire for revenge only perpetuates a cycle of anger and hurt, leading to more pain for everyone involved. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies in forgiveness and letting go. By detaching from the need for revenge, we free ourselves from the negative emotions that come with holding on to grudges, allowing us to move forward with peace and dignity. Detachment also helps us to maintain our integrity in the face of temptation. Whether it's the temptation to cut corners, tell a lie, or act in a way that goes against our values, human behavior is often influenced by the desire for short-term gain. Stoicism teaches us to prioritize virtue over convenience, recognizing that true happiness comes from living in alignment with our principles. By detaching from the allure of easy rewards, we can make decisions that reflect our commitment to doing what is right, even when it is difficult. In times of loss, Stoic detachment offers a powerful tool for coping. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a job, or a cherished dream, loss is an inevitable part of life that can lead to deep emotional pain. Detachment does not mean ignoring or suppressing our grief, but rather accepting the impermanence of all things and allowing ourselves to feel without being consumed by the emotion. By practicing detachment, we can honor our losses while also finding the strength to continue moving forward. Detachment also helps us to manage the expectations of others. Human behavior is often shaped by the expectations that society, family, or peers place upon us, leading us to make decisions that reflect the desires of others rather than our own. Stoicism teaches us to detach from these external pressures and to focus on living in accordance with our own values. By letting go of the need to meet others' expectations, we free ourselves to make choices that are authentic and true to who we are. Another way Stoic detachment protects us is by helping us to deal with disappointment. When things don't go as planned, it's natural to feel frustrated or let down. However, detachment allows us to accept that not everything is within our control and that disappointment is a part of life. By focusing on what we can do next, rather than dwelling on what went wrong, we can make decisions that reflect resilience and adaptability, turning setbacks into opportunities for growth. Detachment also helps us to avoid the trap of perfectionism. Many people are driven by a desire to be perfect, leading to stress, burnout, and a constant feeling of inadequacy. Stoicism teaches that perfection is an illusion and that our worth is not determined by flawless performance, but by our effort and intention. By detaching from the unrealistic expectation of perfection, we can make decisions that reflect self-compassion and a commitment to continuous improvement, rather than being paralyzed by the fear of making mistakes. One of the most important lessons of Stoic detachment is the ability to let go of control. So much of human behavior is driven by the desire to control outcomes, people, or situations. However, this desire for control is often futile and leads to frustration when things don't go as planned. Stoicism teaches that we can only control our own thoughts and actions, not the external world. By accepting this truth and detaching from the need to control everything, we free ourselves from the stress and anxiety that comes with trying to manage the uncontrollable. Stoic detachment offers a profound way to protect ourselves from the darker aspects of human behavior. Whether it's emotional manipulation, conflict, or the desire for revenge, detachment allows us to remain grounded and in control of our own actions. It gives us the clarity to see situations for what they truly are, free from the distortions of emotion and external pressure. By practicing detachment, we can navigate life's challenges with resilience, peace, and integrity, making decisions that reflect our highest values and true purpose. Having explored how Stoic detachment shields us from the darker aspects of human behavior, we now turn our attention to a force that shapes people's actions more than many realize: social pressure. This powerful, often invisible influence molds decisions, beliefs, and behaviors in ways that can be frighteningly subtle. Social pressure operates quietly, pushing individuals to conform, follow, and sometimes betray their own values. Stoicism, with its focus on inner strength and self-awareness, offers a path to resist this overwhelming force and stay true to one's principles, even when society urges otherwise. Social pressure begins with the basic human desire to belong. People naturally crave connection and acceptance, and this craving often leads them to adopt the opinions, behaviors, and habits of the groups they are part of. While this can create a sense of community, it can also lead individuals to compromise their beliefs in order to fit in. Stoicism teaches that true contentment comes not from external approval, but from living in alignment with our inner values. By cultivating self-sufficiency, we can resist the need to conform simply to gain acceptance. One of the most insidious aspects of social pressure is its ability to make us act against our better judgment. When surrounded by a group, individuals often find it difficult to speak up or act differently, even when they know something is wrong. This fear of standing out or being judged by others can lead to a form of silent complicity. Stoicism reminds us that courage is one of the highest virtues, and that it is better to stand alone in truth than to follow the crowd into error. By grounding ourselves in this principle, we can find the strength to resist social pressure and act according to our own moral compass. Social pressure also manifests in the form of societal expectations. From an early age, people are told what is expected of them, how to dress, how to behave, and what goals to pursue. These expectations can be suffocating, leading individuals to live lives that are not truly their own. Stoicism teaches us to question these external demands and to focus on what is truly within our control: our thoughts, actions, and decisions. By rejecting the external pressures to conform to societal norms, we can craft a life that is authentic and reflective of our true values. The fear of rejection is another powerful driver of social pressure. Many people are so afraid of being ostracized or ridiculed that they will go to great lengths to avoid standing out. This fear can cause individuals to suppress their unique qualities and silence their voices. Stoicism teaches us that rejection is not something to fear, but rather an opportunity to practice resilience. By embracing our individuality and accepting that not everyone will understand or accept us, we can liberate ourselves from the paralyzing fear of rejection and make decisions that honor our true selves. Another way social pressure influences behavior is through the power of trends. People are often swept up in the latest fads, whether in fashion, technology, or even political movements, without fully considering whether these trends align with their values or interests. Stoicism teaches the importance of questioning the motivations behind our actions and seeking wisdom rather than blindly following what is popular. By focusing on what is timeless and meaningful, we can resist the pull of fleeting trends and make decisions that reflect our deeper sense of purpose. One of the most dangerous effects of social pressure is its ability to stifle critical thinking. In a group setting, individuals often suppress their doubts or concerns in order to maintain harmony. This can lead to groupthink, where poor decisions are made because no one is willing to question the prevailing opinion. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate intellectual independence and to always seek the truth, even when it is uncomfortable or unpopular. By valuing truth over social approval, we can break free from the constraints of groupthink and make decisions based on reason and clarity. Social pressure can also lead to a fear of failure. When society places a high value on success, people often feel immense pressure to achieve certain goals or milestones, even if these goals are not aligned with their personal values. This fear of failing in the eyes of others can cause individuals to pursue paths that do not bring them fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that failure is not something to be feared, but rather a natural part of the learning process. By focusing on our own growth and progress, rather than society's definition of success, we can make decisions that reflect our true desires and aspirations. Another way social pressure manifests is through the need for approval. Many people base their self-worth on the opinions of others, constantly seeking validation through praise or recognition. This need for approval can lead to decisions that are more about pleasing others than about staying true to oneself. Stoicism teaches that true self-worth comes from within, not from the opinions of others. By cultivating an inner sense of confidence and self-respect, we can free ourselves from the need for external validation and make decisions that align with our values and goals. Social pressure can also cause people to hide their vulnerabilities. In a culture that often values strength and success above all else, individuals may feel pressured to appear invulnerable, never showing weakness or asking for help. This can lead to a sense of isolation and emotional repression. Stoicism, however, teaches that true strength comes from acknowledging our vulnerabilities and embracing our humanity. By rejecting the pressure to appear perfect, we can build deeper, more authentic connections with others and make decisions that are rooted in honesty and self-acceptance. One of the most subtle forms of social pressure is the pressure to conform to cultural or familial expectations. People often feel obligated to follow in the footsteps of their parents or adhere to the traditions of their culture, even if these paths do not align with their own beliefs or desires. Stoicism teaches us that our highest duty is to live in accordance with our own values, not the values imposed upon us by others. By honoring our own inner voice, we can break free from the expectations of others and forge a path that is uniquely our own. Social pressure also plays a role in shaping our beliefs and opinions. In a world where certain viewpoints are more widely accepted or promoted, it can be difficult to maintain an independent perspective. People may feel pressured to adopt the beliefs of those around them in order to avoid conflict or judgment. Stoicism teaches the importance of critical thinking and the pursuit of wisdom. By remaining open-minded and questioning the beliefs that are presented to us, we can resist the pressure to conform to popular opinion and develop a worldview that is truly our own. Another way social pressure influences behavior is through the fear of missing out. People often feel compelled to participate in activities or experiences simply because others are doing so, even if these activities do not bring them joy or fulfillment. This fear of missing out can lead to decisions that are more about keeping up with others than about pursuing personal happiness. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what brings us true contentment and to let go of the need to constantly compare ourselves to others. By cultivating inner peace, we can resist the pull of social pressure and make decisions that reflect our own values and desires. Social pressure also manifests in the form of competition. In a world that often values achievement and success, individuals may feel pressured to constantly compete with others, whether in their careers, relationships, or personal lives. This constant drive for competition can lead to stress, burnout, and a sense of never being enough. Stoicism teaches that true success is not about outshining others, but about living in alignment with our own values and purpose. By letting go of the need to compete, we can make decisions that reflect inner peace and self-fulfillment rather than external achievement. The pressure to conform can also lead to a loss of authenticity. People may feel compelled to hide their true selves or to present a version of themselves that is more palatable to others in order to gain acceptance. This can lead to a sense of disconnection from one's own identity. Stoicism teaches that living authentically is one of the highest virtues. By embracing our true selves, even when it is uncomfortable or unpopular, we can make decisions that are grounded in self-awareness and integrity, rather than in the desire to fit in. Another effect of social pressure is the temptation to take shortcuts. In a society that often values results over process, individuals may feel pressured to cut corners or compromise their values in order to achieve success quickly. This can lead to unethical behavior or decisions that are not in alignment with one's true beliefs. Stoicism teaches that the process is just as important as the outcome, and that true success comes from living with virtue and integrity. By rejecting the pressure to take shortcuts, we can make decisions that reflect our commitment to doing what is right, even when it is difficult. Social pressure also influences how we view time and productivity. In a culture that often glorifies busyness and constant achievement, people may feel pressured to always be doing something, even if it does not bring them joy or fulfillment. This pressure to be constantly productive can lead to burnout and a sense of emptiness. Stoicism teaches the importance of balance and the value of taking time for reflection and rest. By rejecting the pressure to always be productive, we can make decisions that reflect a more mindful and intentional approach to life. Another way social pressure manifests is through the desire for material success. In a society that often equates wealth with happiness, individuals may feel pressured to pursue financial success at the expense of their own well-being or values. This can lead to decisions that prioritize money over meaning. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes not from external wealth, but from inner contentment and virtue. By letting go of the pressure to accumulate material possessions, we can make decisions that reflect our true values and lead to a more fulfilling life. The pressure to conform can also influence how we approach relationships. People may feel compelled to follow societal norms or expectations when it comes to romantic relationships, friendships, or family dynamics, even if these norms do not align with their own desires or values. This can lead to decisions that are more about pleasing others than about pursuing authentic connections. Stoicism teaches the importance of honesty and authenticity in relationships. By rejecting the pressure to conform to societal expectations, we can build relationships that are based on mutual respect and shared values. Social pressure also affects how we approach conflict. In a culture that often values harmony and avoidance of confrontation, individuals may feel pressured to suppress their true feelings or avoid addressing difficult issues in order to maintain peace. This can lead to unresolved tensions and a sense of disconnection in relationships. Stoicism teaches that conflict, when approached with honesty and respect, can be a valuable opportunity for growth and understanding. By embracing difficult conversations rather than avoiding them, we can make decisions that lead to deeper and more authentic connections with others. The pressure to conform can also influence how we approach creativity and self-expression. In a world where certain forms of art, music, or writing are more widely accepted or celebrated, individuals may feel pressured to create in ways that are more palatable to others, rather than in ways that reflect their true creative vision. Stoicism teaches that self-expression should be a reflection of one's inner truth, not a response to external approval. By rejecting the pressure to conform to popular trends in creativity, we can make decisions that reflect our unique voice and vision. Social pressure also manifests in the form of perfectionism. People may feel pressured to always appear perfect or to meet impossibly high standards in order to gain approval or recognition. This pressure can lead to a constant sense of inadequacy and a fear of failure. Stoicism teaches that perfection is an illusion and that true success comes from embracing our imperfections and striving for continuous improvement. By letting go of the pressure to be perfect, we can make decisions that reflect self-compassion and a commitment to growth, rather than a fear of falling short. Another way social pressure influences behavior is through the desire for popularity. In a world that often values fame and recognition, individuals may feel pressured to seek attention or approval from others, even at the expense of their own values or well-being. This can lead to decisions that prioritize external validation over inner fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that true success is not about being liked by others, but about living in alignment with one's own principles. By letting go of the pressure to be popular, we can make decisions that reflect our true purpose and values. Social pressure can also lead to a fear of change. People may feel pressured to stay within the boundaries of what is familiar or comfortable, even if change is necessary for growth or improvement. This fear of stepping outside the norm can prevent individuals from pursuing new opportunities or taking risks. Stoicism teaches that change is a natural and inevitable part of life, and that true wisdom comes from embracing change with courage and adaptability. By rejecting the pressure to stay within the status quo, we can make decisions that lead to growth and transformation. Social pressure is a powerful force that shapes human behavior in profound ways. Whether it's the desire for acceptance, the fear of rejection, or the need for approval, social pressure can lead individuals to make decisions that are not in alignment with their true values. However, Stoic wisdom offers a path to resist this pressure by cultivating inner strength, self-awareness, and the courage to live authentically. By staying true to our principles and rejecting the need for external validation, we can navigate the complexities of social pressure with resilience and integrity, making decisions that reflect our highest selves. Having explored the immense power of social pressure and its often destructive impact on our behavior, we now turn to a deeper and more complex challenge: the flaws inherent in human psychology. These flaws, biases, emotional reactions, and irrational thoughts are woven into the fabric of the human mind, influencing decisions in ways we often fail to recognize. But Stoicism offers a profound way to rise above these weaknesses, teaching us how to master our minds rather than be ruled by them. It provides a path to transcend the limitations of our psychology, guiding us toward clarity, wisdom, and self-control. Human psychology is riddled with cognitive biases, automatic patterns of thinking that lead us to incorrect conclusions or faulty decisions. One of the most common is the confirmation bias, where we seek out information that supports our pre-existing beliefs and ignore anything that challenges them. Stoicism teaches us to question our assumptions and be open to all perspectives, even those that contradict our views. By embracing the Stoic practice of critical thinking, we can overcome the narrow lens of confirmation bias and approach decisions with a more balanced and open mind. Another flaw in human psychology is the tendency to be ruled by emotions, allowing anger, fear, or sadness to cloud our judgment. Stoicism teaches that while emotions are natural, they should not dictate our actions. Instead, we must learn to observe our emotions without being controlled by them. By practicing emotional detachment, we can create space between feeling and action, allowing our decisions to be guided by reason rather than by fleeting emotional states. The need for control is another psychological trap that many people fall into. We often believe that we can control the outcomes of events, other people's behavior, or even the future. This leads to frustration and anxiety when things don't go as planned. Stoicism teaches that the only thing we can truly control is our own thoughts and actions. By focusing on what is within our power and letting go of the need to control everything else, we can free ourselves from the stress and disappointment that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Fear of the unknown is another psychological flaw that Stoicism helps us overcome. People are often paralyzed by fear of the future, worrying about what might happen and feeling powerless in the face of uncertainty. Stoicism teaches that the future is beyond our control and that the best way to face it is with courage and acceptance. By practicing Stoic principles, we learn to approach the unknown with a calm and steady mind, trusting in our ability to handle whatever comes our way. Another common flaw in human psychology is the tendency to compare ourselves to others. This comparison often leads to feelings of inadequacy, envy, or self-doubt. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our own path and to measure success by our own standards, not by the achievements or opinions of others. By letting go of comparisons, we can cultivate a deeper sense of self-worth and make decisions that reflect our own values and goals, rather than being driven by the desire to compete or keep up with others. The fear of failure is another psychological hurdle that many people struggle with. This fear can prevent individuals from taking risks, trying new things, or pursuing their dreams. Stoicism teaches that failure is not something to be feared, but rather an opportunity for growth and learning. By embracing failure as a natural part of life, we can approach challenges with resilience and determination, knowing that each setback brings us one step closer to wisdom and success. One of the most subtle flaws in human psychology is the illusion of control over other people's thoughts and actions. We often believe that we can influence how others perceive us, how they feel, or how they behave. This leads to frustration and disappointment when others do not meet our expectations. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control how others think or act. We can only control our response to them. By accepting this truth, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil that comes from trying to manage the behavior of others. The desire for external validation is another psychological trap that Stoicism helps us avoid. Many people base their self-worth on the approval and praise of others, constantly seeking validation through compliments, recognition, or success. Stoicism teaches that true self-worth comes from within, from living in accordance with our values and principles. By letting go of the need for external validation, we can find inner peace and make decisions that reflect our true selves, rather than being driven by the desire to be liked or admired. Another psychological flaw is the tendency to dwell on the past, reliving mistakes, regrets, or missed opportunities. This fixation on the past can prevent us from moving forward and making positive changes in the present. Stoicism teaches that the past is beyond our control and that the only thing that matters is how we act in the present moment. By practicing mindfulness and focusing on the here and now, we can let go of the emotional weight of the past and make decisions that lead to growth and fulfillment. Human psychology is also prone to irrational fears, fears that are often based on imagined or exaggerated threats. These fears can paralyze us, preventing us from taking action or making decisions that are in our best interest. Stoicism teaches us to confront our fears with logic and reason, questioning whether they are truly justified. By examining our fears with a clear and rational mind, we can dissolve their power and make choices that are based on reality rather than on irrational anxieties. Another flaw in human psychology is the tendency to overestimate the importance of external events. People often believe that their happiness or success depends on external circumstances, such as wealth, status, or relationships. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within, from living a life of virtue and purpose. By letting go of the belief that external events determine our well-being, we can cultivate a sense of inner peace and contentment that is not dependent on the ups and downs of life. The need for certainty is another psychological trap that Stoicism helps us rise above. Many people feel uncomfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty, constantly seeking clear answers and definitive outcomes. This need for certainty can lead to anxiety and frustration when things are unclear or unpredictable. Stoicism teaches that uncertainty is a natural part of life, and that true wisdom comes from embracing it with courage and acceptance. By letting go of the need for certainty, we can approach life with a sense of openness and flexibility, ready to adapt to whatever comes our way. Another psychological flaw is the tendency to take things personally. When others criticize, reject, or mistreat us, it's easy to feel hurt or offended. However, Stoicism teaches that the actions of others are a reflection of their own character, not of our worth. By practicing emotional detachment and recognizing that we cannot control how others behave, we can rise above personal slights and maintain our inner peace, regardless of how others treat us. The desire for perfection is another flaw in human psychology that Stoicism helps us overcome. Many people strive for perfection in their work, relationships, or personal lives, believing that they must be flawless in order to be successful or worthy. This perfectionism can lead to stress, burnout, and a constant sense of inadequacy. Stoicism teaches that perfection is an illusion and that true success comes from doing our best, not from being perfect. By embracing imperfection and focusing on progress rather than perfection, we can live with greater ease and self-compassion. Another common psychological flaw is the tendency to procrastinate. People often delay making decisions or taking action because they are afraid of failure, uncertainty, or discomfort. Stoicism teaches that procrastination is a form of avoidance, and that the key to overcoming it is to take action in the present moment. By focusing on what we can do now, rather than putting things off for the future, we can break the cycle of procrastination and make decisions that lead to growth and accomplishment. The tendency to overthink is another flaw in human psychology that Stoicism helps us overcome. People often get caught up in analyzing every possible outcome, weighing the pros and cons, and second-guessing their decisions. This overthinking can lead to paralysis by analysis, preventing individuals from taking action. Stoicism teaches that while it is important to think things through, there comes a point where we must act. By trusting our judgment and taking decisive action, we can break free from the cycle of overthinking and move forward with confidence. Another psychological trap is the tendency to blame others for our problems or failures. It's easy to point fingers when things go wrong, attributing our difficulties to external circumstances or other people's actions. However, Stoicism teaches that true power comes from taking responsibility for our own lives. By accepting responsibility for our choices and actions, we empower ourselves to make positive changes and take control of our destiny, rather than waiting for others to change. Human psychology is also prone to the illusion of permanence, the belief that things will always stay the same, whether good or bad. This illusion can lead to complacency or despair, depending on the circumstances. Stoicism teaches that change is the only constant in life, and that everything, whether good or bad, is temporary. By embracing the impermanence of life, we can learn to appreciate the present moment and make decisions that reflect our understanding of the fleeting nature of all things. Another flaw in human psychology is the tendency to avoid discomfort. People often seek out comfort and security, avoiding challenges or difficult situations because they are afraid of pain or hardship. Stoicism teaches that growth comes from facing discomfort and adversity with courage and resilience. By embracing challenges rather than avoiding them, we can develop inner strength and make decisions that lead to personal growth and fulfillment. The tendency to hold grudges is another psychological flaw that Stoicism helps us rise above. When others hurt or wrong us, it's easy to hold on to anger or resentment, allowing these negative emotions to fester and influence our behavior. Stoicism teaches that forgiveness is a path to inner peace, and that holding on to grudges only harms ourselves. By practicing forgiveness and letting go of past hurts, we can free ourselves from the emotional weight of resentment and make decisions that are rooted in compassion and understanding. Another common flaw in human psychology is the tendency to focus on what is lacking rather than on what is present. People often dwell on what they don't have, whether it's material possessions, success, or relationships, leading to feelings of dissatisfaction and discontent. Stoicism teaches us to practice gratitude for what we do have and to recognize that contentment comes not from acquiring more, but from appreciating what is already within our grasp. By shifting our focus to gratitude, we can make decisions that reflect abundance rather than scarcity. Human psychology is also prone to the tendency to seek shortcuts or easy solutions. In a world that often values quick fixes and instant gratification, people may be tempted to take the path of least resistance, even when it is not in their best interest. Stoicism teaches that true success comes from perseverance, hard work, and dedication. By embracing the process rather than seeking shortcuts, we can make decisions that lead to long-term fulfillment and lasting achievement. In conclusion, Stoicism provides a powerful framework for rising above the many flaws in human psychology. Whether it's cognitive biases, emotional reactions, or irrational fears, Stoicism teaches us how to navigate the complexities of the human mind with wisdom, clarity, and self-control. By practicing Stoic principles, we can transcend the limitations of our psychology and make decisions that reflect our highest values, leading to a life of inner peace, fulfillment, and purpose. Having uncovered the many flaws in human psychology and how Stoicism helps us rise above them, we now turn to a deeper and more subtle issue: the danger of relying on external validation. The need for approval and recognition from others can be a powerful force, shaping our behavior and decisions in ways we often don't realize. But Stoicism warns us that this dependence on outside validation is a path to insecurity, dissatisfaction, and a loss of personal freedom. Only by breaking free from this reliance can we truly live with authenticity and inner peace. Seeking external validation places our sense of self-worth in the hands of others, making us vulnerable to their opinions, moods, and judgments. When we depend on others to define our value, we are no longer in control of our own happiness. Stoicism teaches that true self-worth comes from within, from knowing who we are and living in accordance with our principles. By focusing on our inner character rather than external praise, we can build a foundation of self-respect that is not swayed by the opinions of others. The desire for validation often leads to behavior that is more about pleasing others than about staying true to oneself. People may act in ways that they believe will earn approval, even if those actions go against their own values or beliefs. This compromises personal integrity and can lead to a life filled with regret. Stoicism teaches the importance of living authentically, making decisions that reflect our true character rather than bending to the expectations of others. By rejecting the need for external approval, we can live a life of greater honesty and self-respect. One of the most dangerous aspects of relying on external validation is that it creates a cycle of dependence. The more we seek approval from others, the more we need it to feel validated. This dependence can lead to constant anxiety as we become preoccupied with how others perceive us. Stoicism teaches us to break this cycle by cultivating self-reliance and focusing on our own inner judgment. By trusting in our own values and decisions, we can free ourselves from the constant need for external validation and find a deeper sense of peace. External validation is often fleeting and inconsistent. What pleases others today may not please them tomorrow, and this inconsistency can leave us feeling ungrounded and insecure. Stoicism reminds us that relying on something so unpredictable is a recipe for instability. Instead, we must cultivate a steady and unshakable sense of self that is not dependent on the changing opinions of others. By doing so, we create a life that is built on inner stability rather than the shifting sands of external validation. Another danger of seeking external validation is that it can lead to a loss of personal freedom. When we are constantly trying to live up to the expectations of others, we are not truly free to make our own choices. We become trapped in a cycle of people-pleasing, always striving to meet someone else's standards rather than our own. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from living in alignment with our own values and making decisions based on our inner wisdom, not on the approval of others. By letting go of the need for validation, we reclaim our freedom and autonomy. The need for validation can also lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. When we constantly compare ourselves to others and seek their approval, we may begin to feel that we are not enough as we are. This can erode our self-confidence and lead to a constant sense of insecurity. Stoicism teaches that we are enough as we are and that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others. By cultivating self-acceptance and focusing on our own growth, we can overcome feelings of inadequacy and build a stronger sense of self. Relying on external validation can also prevent us from taking risks and pursuing our true passions. When we are overly concerned with what others think, we may avoid stepping outside our comfort zone or trying new things for fear of being judged or criticized. This can lead to a life of missed opportunities and unfulfilled potential. Stoicism teaches that we should not be afraid to take risks and follow our own path, even if it goes against the expectations of others. By letting go of the need for approval, we can embrace the freedom to pursue our true desires and live a life of purpose. Another danger of seeking external validation is that it can lead to a distorted sense of self. When we rely on others to define our worth, we may lose touch with who we truly are and begin to see ourselves through the lens of others' opinions. This can create a false sense of identity, where we are more concerned with how we are perceived than with who we really are. Stoicism teaches the importance of self-awareness and knowing ourselves deeply. By focusing on our own inner values and truths, we can avoid the trap of living a life based on external perceptions and instead live a life that is true to ourselves. External validation can also lead to unhealthy relationships. When we are constantly seeking approval from others, we may attract people who take advantage of our need for validation, using it to manipulate or control us. This can lead to toxic dynamics where we are constantly trying to earn someone's approval rather than being valued for who we truly are. Stoicism teaches that healthy relationships are based on mutual respect and understanding, not on the need for validation. By cultivating self-worth and setting boundaries, We can build relationships that are grounded in authenticity and respect. The pursuit of external validation can also lead to a sense of emptiness. No matter how much praise or recognition we receive, it may never feel like enough, leaving us constantly seeking more. This insatiable need for validation can create a void that is impossible to fill. Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes from within, from living in accordance with our values and finding purpose in our actions. By letting go of the need for external approval, we can find a deeper sense of satisfaction and contentment that is not dependent on others. External validation often creates a fear of judgment. When we rely on others' opinions to feel validated, we may become overly sensitive to criticism or rejection. This fear of judgment can prevent us from expressing ourselves authentically or pursuing our true goals. Stoicism teaches that the opinions of others are beyond our control and that we should not let them dictate our actions. By focusing on what we can control, our own thoughts and behaviors, we can rise above the fear of judgment and live with greater confidence and authenticity. The need for validation can also lead to a focus on appearance over substance. When we are concerned with how we are perceived, we may prioritize outward appearances or superficial achievements over deeper, more meaningful pursuits. This can lead to a life that is focused on image rather than on true fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that what matters most is our inner character and the choices we make based on our values. By letting go of the need to impress others, we can focus on what truly matters and live a life of purpose and integrity. Another danger of relying on external validation is that it can make us vulnerable to manipulation. People who seek approval from others may be more easily influenced or swayed by the opinions of those around them, even when those opinions are not in their best interest. Stoicism teaches the importance of independent thinking and trusting our own judgment. By cultivating self-reliance and focusing on our own values, we can protect ourselves from being manipulated by others and make decisions that reflect our true intentions. External validation can also create a sense of competition, where we feel the need to constantly compare ourselves to others and prove our worth. This can lead to feelings of jealousy, resentment, or inadequacy when we perceive others as more successful or accomplished. Stoicism teaches that we should focus on our own path and not be concerned with how we measure up to others. By letting go of the need to compete for validation, we can cultivate a sense of inner peace and contentment, knowing that our worth is not dependent on external comparisons. The desire for validation can also lead to a lack of boundaries. When we are overly concerned with pleasing others, we may find it difficult to say no or set limits, leading to situations where we are taken advantage of or overextend ourselves. This can lead to burnout, resentment, or a loss of personal freedom. Stoicism teaches the importance of setting healthy boundaries and prioritizing our own well-being. By cultivating self-respect and asserting our needs, we can protect ourselves from being overwhelmed by the demands of others and maintain our sense of autonomy. Another danger of relying on external validation is that it can lead to a fear of authenticity. When we are concerned with how others perceive us, we may feel pressure to present a version of ourselves that is more palatable or acceptable, rather than being true to who we really are. This can create a sense of disconnection from our own identity, leading to feelings of dissatisfaction or emptiness. Stoicism teaches that authenticity is one of the highest virtues, and that living in alignment with our true selves is the key to a fulfilling life. By letting go of the need for approval, we can embrace our true selves and live with greater freedom and authenticity. External validation can also lead to a focus on short-term rewards over long-term fulfillment. When we are constantly seeking praise or recognition, we may make decisions that prioritize immediate gratification rather than pursuing deeper, more meaningful goals. This can lead to a sense of emptiness or regret over time, as we realize that we have been chasing superficial rewards rather than true purpose. Stoicism teaches the importance of focusing on long-term values and goals, rather than being swayed by short-term desires for validation. By letting go of the need for approval, we can make decisions that lead to lasting fulfillment and satisfaction. The pursuit of external validation can also create a sense of dependency on others. When we rely on others to define our worth, we may become overly reliant on their opinions or approval, leading to a loss of independence and self-reliance. This dependency can make us vulnerable to the changing moods or judgments of others, leaving us feeling insecure or ungrounded. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from within, from cultivating self-reliance and trusting our own judgment. By letting go of the need for validation, we can build a foundation of inner strength and independence that is not swayed by external influences. External validation can also lead to a loss of focus on what truly matters. When we are constantly seeking approval from others, we may become distracted by the need to impress or please, rather than focusing on our own values and goals. This can lead to a sense of aimlessness or a lack of direction in life. Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes from living in alignment with our values and pursuing our true purpose, regardless of what others think. By letting go of the need for validation, we can refocus on what truly matters and live a life of purpose and meaning. The need for external validation can also create a sense of fear around failure. When we are concerned with how others perceive us, we may avoid taking risks or pursuing our true goals for fear of being judged or criticized if we fail. This fear of failure can hold us back from achieving our full potential and living a life of purpose. Stoicism teaches that failure is not something to be feared, but rather an opportunity for growth and learning. By letting go of the need for validation, we can embrace failure as a natural part of the journey and make decisions that lead to true success and fulfillment. Another danger of relying on external validation is that it can lead to a focus on quantity over quality. When we are seeking approval from others, we may prioritize accumulating achievements, accolades, or relationships, rather than focusing on the depth and meaning of those experiences. This can lead to a sense of superficiality or emptiness, as we realize that quantity does not necessarily lead to fulfillment. Stoicism teaches the importance of focusing on the quality of our actions and relationships, rather than on the external rewards they bring. By letting go of the need for validation, we can cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections and experiences. External validation can also lead to a sense of dissatisfaction with our achievements. No matter how much praise or recognition we receive, it may never feel like enough, leaving us constantly seeking more. This insatiable need for validation can create a sense of emptiness or dissatisfaction, as we realize that external approval does not lead to true fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that true contentment comes from within, from knowing that we have lived in accordance with our values and done our best. By letting go of the need for validation, we can find a deeper sense of satisfaction and contentment in our achievements. The pursuit of external validation can also lead to a focus on what others expect from us, rather than on what we truly want. When we are concerned with pleasing others, we may make decisions based on their expectations rather than on our own desires or values. This can lead to a life that is not truly our own, filled with choices that do not reflect our true selves. Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes from living authentically, making decisions that are in alignment with our own values and desires. By letting go of the need for validation, we can reclaim our autonomy and live a life that is true to who we are. Relying on external validation is a dangerous trap that can lead to insecurity, dissatisfaction, and a loss of personal freedom. Stoicism offers a powerful path to break free from this dependence by cultivating self-reliance, authenticity, and inner strength. By letting go of the need for approval, we can live a life that is true to ourselves, making decisions based on our own values and finding true fulfillment from within. Having explored the deep dangers of relying on external validation, we now shift our attention to another critical challenge in life: deception. In a world filled with misinformation, manipulation, and hidden agendas, it's easy to be misled. Deception can come from others, from societal influences, or even from within ourselves. But Stoicism, with its practice of mindfulness and clarity, offers a powerful way to cut through deception and see the truth. Stoic mindfulness sharpens our perception, allowing us to recognize when we are being deceived and to respond with wisdom and integrity. Deception often preys on our emotions, leading us to believe things that are not true simply because they feel right in the moment. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to observe our emotions without being overwhelmed by them, creating the mental space needed to question what we are being told. By cultivating this inner calm, we can avoid being swept away by emotional appeals and instead assess situations with rational clarity. This allows us to recognize when someone is attempting to deceive us by playing on our fears, desires, or insecurities. One of the most subtle forms of deception comes from within. Self-deception occurs when we convince ourselves of something that isn't true because it aligns with what we want to believe. Stoic mindfulness encourages us to practice radical honesty with ourselves, to confront our own biases and desires that may cloud our judgment. By staying grounded in reality and accepting uncomfortable truths, we can break free from the lies we tell ourselves and make decisions based on truth rather than wishful thinking. Deception often thrives in environments of confusion and uncertainty. When we lack clarity, we become more susceptible to manipulation and false information. Stoic mindfulness helps us to cultivate mental clarity, allowing us to see through the noise and focus on what is true and essential. By practicing mindfulness, we can train our minds to remain clear and focused, even in chaotic situations, making it easier to detect when we are being deceived. Another powerful aspect of Stoic mindfulness is its ability to sharpen our awareness of manipulation. Whether it's in personal relationships, business dealings, or media, manipulation often works by distorting the truth in subtle ways. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to be fully present and aware of the motivations behind others' actions, allowing us to recognize when someone is attempting to manipulate us for their own gain. This heightened awareness enables us to respond with discernment, refusing to be swayed by deceptive tactics. Deception often relies on creating a sense of urgency, making us feel as though we must act quickly without taking the time to fully assess the situation. Stoic mindfulness helps us to slow down, to pause and reflect before reacting. By cultivating a mindset of patience and deliberation, we can resist the pressure to make hasty decisions and instead take the time to consider all aspects of the situation. This practice helps us to see through false urgency and make more thoughtful and informed choices. One of the most dangerous forms of deception comes from people who appear trustworthy but have hidden motives. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to look beyond appearances and to question the true intentions of those we interact with. By practicing mindfulness, we can develop a deeper sense of intuition, allowing us to pick up on subtle cues that may reveal someone's true motives. This heightened perception helps us to avoid being deceived by people who wear a mask of honesty but have ulterior motives. Stoic mindfulness also helps us to recognize when societal pressures or cultural norms are deceiving us into thinking or acting in ways that are not aligned with our true values. Many of the messages we receive from society are designed to manipulate our behavior, convincing us that we need to buy certain products, achieve specific goals, or conform to particular standards in order to be successful or happy. By practicing mindfulness, we can detach from these external pressures and reflect on what truly matters to us. This clarity allows us to see through the deception of societal expectations and make decisions that are aligned with our own values and purpose. Another form of deception that Stoic mindfulness helps us to overcome is the illusion of control. Many people deceive themselves into thinking that they can control external events or other people's actions, leading to frustration and disappointment when things don't go as planned. Stoicism teaches that the only thing we can truly control is our own thoughts and actions. By practicing mindfulness, we can remind ourselves of this truth and let go of the illusion of control, freeing ourselves from the emotional turmoil that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. Deception often plays on our desires, making us believe that happiness or fulfillment can be found in external things, wealth, status, or possessions. Stoic mindfulness helps us to recognize that true contentment comes from within, from living a life of virtue and purpose. By staying mindful of our desires and questioning whether they are leading us toward or away from our true values, we can avoid being deceived by the false promises of external success. This practice helps us to focus on what truly matters and to live with greater peace and fulfillment. Stoic mindfulness also helps us to recognize when we are being deceived by distractions. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to become distracted by endless streams of information, entertainment, and social media, which can pull us away from what is truly important. By practicing mindfulness, we can become more aware of these distractions and choose to focus our attention on what truly matters. This awareness helps us to see through the deception of distractions and to live with greater intentionality and purpose. Deception often works by appealing to our need for validation or approval. People may flatter us or tell us what we want to hear in order to manipulate our actions. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to detach from the need for external validation and to trust our own inner judgment. By staying mindful of our own values and motivations, we can avoid being swayed by the false flattery or manipulations of others and make decisions that are grounded in truth. Another way that deception operates is through the spread of misinformation. In an age of social media and rapid communication, false information can spread quickly, leading people to believe things that are not true. Stoic mindfulness helps us to remain skeptical and to question the information we receive. By practicing critical thinking and mindfulness, we can avoid being deceived by false information and make decisions based on a clear understanding of the facts. Deception can also occur when we are overly attached to certain outcomes. When we are fixated on achieving a specific goal, we may deceive ourselves into believing that the ends justify the means, leading us to compromise our values or make unethical choices. Stoic mindfulness helps us to stay focused on the process rather than the outcome, reminding us that true success comes from living in alignment with our values, regardless of the results. This mindset helps us to avoid the self-deception that can come from being overly attached to specific outcomes. Another subtle form of deception is the tendency to rationalize our actions, convincing ourselves that what we are doing is right or justified, even when it goes against our values. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to be brutally honest with ourselves and to question our motivations. By staying mindful of our thoughts and actions, we can avoid the trap of self-deception and make decisions that are aligned with our true principles. Deception also occurs when we become overly influenced by the opinions of others. People may try to deceive us into believing something by presenting it as the popular or widely accepted view. Stoic mindfulness helps us to maintain intellectual independence, reminding us that the opinions of others do not define the truth. By staying mindful of our own thoughts and beliefs, we can avoid being deceived by the pressure to conform and make decisions that reflect our own values. Stoic mindfulness also helps us to recognize when fear is being used as a tool of deception. Fear is a powerful emotion that can cloud our judgment and lead us to believe things that are not true. Whether it's fear of failure, rejection, or uncertainty, deception often works by amplifying our fears and convincing us to act out of anxiety rather than reason. Stoicism teaches us to confront our fears with courage and to question whether they are truly justified. By practicing mindfulness, we can recognize when fear is being used to deceive us and respond with calm and clarity. Another form of deception that Stoic mindfulness helps us to overcome is the temptation to avoid responsibility. People may deceive themselves into believing that they are not responsible for their actions or that their circumstances are beyond their control. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from accepting responsibility for our own choices and actions. By practicing mindfulness, we can stay aware of our own agency and avoid the deception of blaming others or external circumstances for our problems. Stoic mindfulness also helps us to recognize when we are being deceived by appearances. People and situations may not always be what they seem, and deception often works by presenting a false image or facade. By staying mindful and practicing discernment, we can look beyond appearances and seek the deeper truth. This practice helps us to avoid being misled by surface-level impressions and to make decisions based on a deeper understanding of reality. Another way that deception manifests is through the temptation to take shortcuts or make compromises in order to achieve quick success. People may deceive themselves into thinking that cutting corners or bending the rules is justified if it leads to a positive outcome. Stoic mindfulness teaches that true success comes from living with integrity and that shortcuts often lead to long-term consequences. By staying mindful of our values and resisting the temptation to take the easy way out, we can avoid being deceived by the allure of quick success. Deception can also occur when we are overly attached to our own beliefs or opinions. When we are convinced that we are right, we may deceive ourselves into ignoring or dismissing evidence that contradicts our views. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to remain open-minded and to question our own assumptions. By practicing humility and being willing to change our minds when presented with new information, we can avoid the self-deception that comes from rigid thinking. Another danger of deception is that it can erode trust in our relationships. When people deceive us or we deceive others, it can lead to a breakdown of trust and communication. Stoic mindfulness teaches the importance of honesty and transparency in our interactions with others. By practicing mindfulness, we can stay aware of our own actions and ensure that we are acting with integrity, fostering trust and authenticity in our relationships. Deception also works by appealing to our ego. People may flatter us or tell us what we want to hear in order to manipulate our actions. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to be aware of our own ego and to question whether we are being swayed by false praise or the desire for recognition. By staying grounded in humility and self-awareness, we can avoid being deceived by the flattery of others and make decisions that are based on truth rather than ego. Another way that deception operates is through the temptation to avoid discomfort. People may deceive themselves into believing that it's better to avoid difficult situations or conversations, even when facing them, is necessary for growth. Stoic mindfulness teaches that discomfort is a natural part of life, and that avoiding it only leads to stagnation. By staying mindful of our own tendencies to avoid discomfort, we can confront difficult situations with courage and integrity, avoiding the self-deception that comes from taking the easy way out. Stoic mindfulness also helps us to recognize when we are being deceived by the promise of material success. In a society that often equates wealth and status with happiness, people may deceive themselves into believing that accumulating more will lead to fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that true contentment comes from within and that external success is fleeting. By practicing mindfulness, we can stay aware of our true values and avoid being deceived by the false promise of material success. Deception often works by creating a sense of scarcity, convincing us that there is not enough, whether it's time, money, or opportunity, and that we must act quickly or risk losing out. This scarcity mindset can lead to hasty decisions and unnecessary anxiety. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to cultivate a mindset of abundance, recognizing that there is always enough when we focus on what truly matters. By practicing mindfulness, we can avoid being deceived by the illusion of scarcity and make decisions that are rooted in calm and clarity. Another form of deception that Stoic mindfulness helps us to overcome is the temptation to seek approval from others. People may deceive themselves into believing that they need the validation of others in order to be happy or successful. Stoicism teaches that true self-worth comes from within and that the opinions of others do not define us. By practicing mindfulness, we can stay aware of our own motivations and avoid being deceived by the need for external approval. Deception can also occur when we are overly focused on the future, constantly worrying about what might happen and making decisions based on fear or anxiety about what's to come. Stoic mindfulness teaches us to stay grounded in the present moment, recognizing that the future is beyond our control. By practicing mindfulness, we can let go of the anxiety that comes from future-focused thinking and make decisions based on the reality of the present. In conclusion, Stoic mindfulness offers a powerful tool for recognizing and overcoming deception. Whether it's deception from others, from societal influences, or from within ourselves, mindfulness helps us to cut through the illusions and see the truth. By staying fully present and aware of our thoughts, emotions, and motivations, we can protect ourselves from deception and make decisions that are grounded in truth, integrity, and wisdom. As we've explored the unsettling truths about human behavior and the powerful insights Stoicism offers to navigate these complexities, it becomes clear that understanding the darker aspects of psychology isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. Stoicism gives us the tools to rise above manipulation, emotional traps, and the flaws in human nature, allowing us to live with greater clarity and purpose. The mind can be deceiving, but with Stoic wisdom, we can stay grounded and free from the forces that often lead us astray. Now, I want to hear from you. What part of human behavior surprised you the most? How will you apply Stoic principles to your own life? Leave a comment below, and let's start a conversation about how we can navigate this unpredictable world together. If you found this video valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We explore topics like this all the time, helping you live with wisdom, strength, and clarity. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss out on new content.